I'm alive.
Better than the alternative.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't know.
That's
Not,
true. We don't know.
not very many people could tell me.
Hey, my wife's uncle. It's funny because it's funny now. He had a heart attack at work. Like he clocked in and just collapsed like 10 seconds later, and he has his admission papers from the hospital, and it says reason for admission, and it says death. He was gone, but they brought him back, so he's been living ever since.
Then he really wasn't gone. Clinical death and death.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I'm just posing it out there in my brain going,
It's a funny thing to have framed in your house.
Right? Well, at least you're allowed to have it framed in your house, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So now you were saying before I had to pause.
Yeah.
You were saying something?
No, I was just saying, just trying to get like an inspiration piece for my writing.
Oh, yeah, the antler thingy.
Yeah. A collar made from moose antlers I thought would be a cool idea for a druid. And I could not get, again, I was using Midjourney to try to get an inspiration piece for my writing, and
right.
it could not understand that. It just can't. Like when you say antlers, it thinks head. So
right.
I'm like, so it understands where antlers go.
That is really kind of weird, but okay. I've got an idea from it because, like I said, I think I've seen it before. I actually think I've seen it in maybe Princess Mononoke or
okay, well, that's
Nausicaa, something like that. An anime.
Oh well, that'd be another good reason why I don't know, because I'm not really into anime. So,
well, yeah, I guess. Like I watched a lot of the Studio Ghibli stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about. So, I'm surprised, actually. I recommend that you do watch Nausicaa of the Wind or something like that.
Okay.
Because it it's a teenage girl protagonist. It feels very like some of the stuff that you used to write, except for it's kind of sort of dystopian future, but Japanese creatures and mythology, kind of. It's really hard to explain unless you've seen it, but it's not hard to access. You probably could find it pretty cheap online.
I'll have to give it a look. Nausicaa.
Yeah, and I think it's like a Greek story originally. Nausicaa.
All right, I'll give it a whirl when I have some time.
Yeah, I think it's something that you'd be interested in. It really does. Remember when we were talking about writing a story about people that kind of survived in the aftermath of the Star Wars Empire War?
Yeah.
This kind of has a little bit of that feel to it.
So what are we doing tonight?
Oh, we're doing a lot of stuff, but right now, I'm trying to get some colors for the clouds. I would love to. I would love to say that we're going to do the clouds and then peel off part of the mountains and start there, but let's be honest. The clouds will be good if I can get there.
I'm digging the new music.
It is very soundtrack-ish.
Yeah.
Well, it's a guy that composed a bunch of soundtrack type stuff, and there's a couple of them that Jake couldn't put on. He put the whole thing on, but it was so um, was so. It was like 3 very short songs too long. How weird is that, right?
Yeah.
But that's pretty much what it was. So odd that something that this I thought it was a lot darker when I did it to begin with. Sounds epic, right?
Yeah.
This is the kind of thing that I actually listen to if I'm writing. Especially if I'm writing fantasy, you know? Yeah, that's darker. That's what I was thinking. I talked about this a little for anybody that watched the last one. I think I talked about it while you were talking about me talking to my only friend. That I'm still using the lines of the clouds to calm down her. Can you hear me?
I can hear it. Well, yeah, just the music got kind of loud right there, but
Yeah, I can't gauge that because it's really low to me. I turned it where I normally do for all the rest of the stuff. Yeah. It's more fitting soundtrack for what I'm doing.
Okay, so I don't remember this, so I'm going to ask you because you've done it. You were working on that comic book script,
Okay.
right? So
I still am. I've done. I just took a break
Okay.
from that because of my recent inspiration.
okay,
So, just saying, I'm not. I haven't given up on it or anything. I just kind of paused.
but when you do those, like you're detailing the story, were there notes about what the art's supposed to look like, or is that just up to the artist?
Uh, Mostly we try to leave that up to the artist.
Okay.
Because, so, if you're imagining like a film, okay, the director doesn't do it all. He doesn't decide what the clothes look like. You know what I mean? He doesn't like. He might have the final say on the cast or whatever, but that usually goes through a casting director. The scenes go through a cinematography, and
Right.
so it's the same thing, except you're dividing your details, most of your work up among 4 people. 5 people, technically. And that would be, you've got your writer, which is the script, and sometimes the plot isn't written by the writer just kind of clarifies it, cleans it up. Then you've got the writer, and the writer basically the writer doesn't really do a whole lot of describing. Like the comic book that I was working on already has pretty much an existing cast, an existing era, time period. If there's aliens in it, they're already pre-existing. If there's spaceships in it, they're pretty much already pre-existing. Like, what I did was introduce some that were a little bit new, but mostly they were already pre-existing characters. So I don't know if it helps for me to tell you that, but the inker has the job of making that stuff clear and defining the pencil lines. Unless the penciler is super, super tight, the inker is really kind of embellishing it a little bit.
Okay.
And then the colorist all of these guys can make or break it, but the colorist will do color holds on lines, which will make lines that are normally drawn either in black or pencil, and change the color of those lines to a lightning strikes blue or something like that.
Okay.
That's what the colorist does, and that's a colorist that works with computer colors. So, as a writer, this I guess is the core of your question. Unless I'm creating a new title, or creating something that's not already canon, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Unless I'm creating something, I don't want to get too descriptive over it. Most of the characters, like I was talking about Bane being created, he was created by a writer and an artist. Same's Deadpool. I mean, Rob Liefeld talks about how he created Deadpool, but Fabian Nicieza, I don't know how to pronounce his name right, but he was the writer and he created a lot of the story to the character. Rob Liefeld created the look. So it's a combination. And as a writer, you kind of want to leave a lot of that up to the artist because they'll know dynamically what they like.
Right.
You might say, if you're creating a character, you might say it's a guy or a girl, or what color their hair is, what color their costume is, what shape of their body. Like if it's a big body or a little body, lithe, flabby, you know what I'm saying? So you might give them the basics of all that. Or you might just say, because this is not printed, this is for the artist, you might just say, looks like if you would envision the Hulk as Conan.
Okay.
And that would be like a rough description of Scar. Which is the Hulk's son.
Terrible character they introduced at the end of She-Hulk.
What's that?
They introduced him at the end of She-Hulk.
Scar?
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
Well, it doesn't matter because I'm not going to watch She-Hulk anyway.
You shouldn't. It was god-awful terrible.
Yeah. Well, the showrunner, the writer or whatever, said she knew it was going to be, and she wrote it so that everybody would bitch. Like, why would you do that? Why would you? You have an opportunity to make a name for yourself, to do something great.
Yeah.
And you're going to screw it up just because you know people are going to bitch about it. Well, if you actually give them what they're bitching about to bitch about, then you legitimize that. Ever think of that?
Yeah.
You know?
I don't understand the desire to piss off your fan base.
Right. And that's exactly, she knew she was doing it. She said she knew she was doing it and did it to do that. Well,
like, I can understand.
Yay! That you won. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
I'm just saying. I understand. It's okay to piss off your fan base. It really is. If that's how you wanted to tell your story, because that's the story. That's what you feel the story needs. Because if you're not willing to piss off your fan base, you're not willing to take chances. But at the same time, I don't think that should be a goal. Like, that should be an unfortunate side effect, not the target. So,
right. I guess I got to kind of stop right there because I don't think there's any excuse to piss off your fan base. I think no matter what you're going to do, that somebody ain't going to like it, which is not the same as, setting out to piss some people off.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, you have to be willing. You, as an artist, you're going to know that somebody's not going to like it. Not everyone's going to enjoy it. They're going to want one thing, and you're going to provide something else, and they're just not going to like it. Whatever. But again, you're trying to. On one hand, you're trying to have your voice and your say and your vision. Cool, and that's valid. But yeah. Just thinking that
to a degree,
I would like to piss off my fan base. No, I just don't get that.
Yeah, to a degree, that's the Star Wars argument, right?
Well,
there's a certain expectation. What I'm saying is, there's a certain expectation that Star Wars fans have had for over 40 years. When you go in and start trashing canon that people are going to specifically see, that's intentionally pissing off your fan base in a way that you're not going to be happy with in the end because it's going to come back to bite you.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying don't take chances with the fan base. Don't say, like, oh, I wouldn't ever take a chance or whatever. Yeah, take a chance, but don't intentionally destroy that which people are coming to see, that they've established they want to see, right?
Right.
That's the difference, I think. I don't want to. Yeah, I'm not trying to do the politic thing. I'm trying to say when you're taking chances with somebody else's characters or beloved characters, I guess I should really say, right?
Right.
These are when you have a fan base as strong as Star Wars, then there is a reason that you've developed that fan base.
Yeah.
And if you don't recognize that reason and just walk all over them, yeah, they're not going to like it. Why should they? So you were going to expand on that, or that's exactly what you're talking about, or
that's what I'm talking about with She-Hulk. I mean, that's why it's so terrible. It's just they're not culture warriors; they're culture destroyers. They're just taking a culture and saying, "We don't like it. We're going to shit all over it, and you're going to buy it." And that's not cool. I mean, I can't. I don't know if there's like Green Arrow, right? He became, he was wasn't he like anti-war and,
Well, Green Arrow. There was a time they had Green Lantern, Green Arrow. Remember?
Right.
That was a comic book. Green Lantern, Green Arrow.
Right.
Green Lantern was Republican. Green Arrow was Democrat. And that was their argument, but they represented both sides of the political argument.
I'm just saying. So,
well, I'm just saying that was what they were about, character-wise.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, if you take Green Arrow or a character like him, and decide, you know what, we're going to make him an ultra-white right-winger, neo-Nazi.
Right.
Like you're going to piss, like why? That's not what people came to see.
Right.
And I don't think you should do that. Like if you want to create a ultra right-wing neo-Nazi archer, then do that. I mean, I hope he's a villain. Otherwise you're a shithead, but I just.
Yeah, but I really hate that you're crediting those people that are claiming ultra right wing are Nazis, because that's not really true.
I'm just trying to steel me on the argument on their for that side. Like I'm just trying to say, like you take something that they view a certain way, that it should be this way, and you just change, go the exact. It's like making Captain America, part of Hydra.
They did.
I know, and it's just dumb. Like that is bait and switch beyond belief. It is terrible to the character. It's terrible to the fan base. It is just all around crap.
I agree.
Now what they did in the movies, where it was like S.H.I.E.L.D. had been infiltrated by Hydra and all this stuff, and I was like, well, that's actually a smart way of doing things, because Captain America stays consistent, but it's an organization, and you get to see how, it gets infiltrated, and I'm like, all right, that's actually an interesting concept. Even if it's a good organization, they grounded it in a way where it was like, yeah, but bad things can happen. And it was a gradual process, and it wasn't always like that. So, I mean, I just it's apples and oranges when you start saying, well, they made Shield really just a Hydra front versus Captain America being a Hydra agent the entire time. Like, it just that never made sense. Like, that's just crapping all over the character, the lore, the canon, everything. And so, what you should be doing, you should be tearing it down. You should be making it more interesting, and that's just not it.
Right.
And part of the problem is the fact that they're. I feel like they've run out of ideas, so they don't know what to do with these, with these characters that have been going on for decades and decades. And that's kind of one of the problems of comic books in general is that, it's okay. Do you make a new character? All right, you can make a new character and hope it sells, but then most of them don't. And it's like, well, most comic book characters never really sold. Like, there's always a few, but it's kind of hard to strike gold every time. But at least people are trying something new. Although I don't know, like Deadpool's a relatively new character compared to Superman or Batman.
Well, yeah, compared to
know.
Superman or Batman.
I don't really know how original of a concept he is, other than
Deadpool?
Yeah. He heals and he breaks the fourth wall.
Well, it's more than that. He's across. There's a little bit of Spider-Man in him, which is the smartass, but I think the part of it is that he really can't die. But I don't know how original or how close to the original script that is. I don't know if originally it was one of those he can't die things, but that's the reason that I don't really care about Deadpool. Like, what does he have to overcome? His own ego, right?
Yeah.
I can't relate to that because I don't have that kind of ego. No.
Well, it kind of makes it hard to have tension when he'll survive.
Right.
So, yeah, that's a problem with making things that are too powerful.
Yep. Superman taught that lesson.
I know, and that's why I feel like they keep trying to.
Why they had to go and create kryptonite and all that.
Yeah, but even that, like with the movies and the way they just keep wanting to mess with them because they can't come up with anything. I'm like, part of the problem is they need a bigger budget to provide a. Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess Man of Steel, they remade the best of the original Christopher Reeves films, in my opinion. And
so the thing about the new Superman movies is that they tried to make him dark and gritty, and Superman's not supposed to be dark and gritty.
Yeah.
I've heard it presented, and I totally agree that Superman's not supposed to be dark and gritty. He's supposed to be the example of what a Superman is. That heroes are supposed to be what we are trying to aspire to be, not just an everyday version of us with superpowers.
Well,
so once in a while, you get those problems that we all have with superheroes, and that would be fine. But now it's all the time, everywhere, and that's more important than the actual superhero story. What need is there for a superhero if JQ Public can just do his job?
Yeah.
And I really totally agree with the fact that if you're a superhero, that's the whole point, is that you're supposed to be the example. You're supposed to set an example. That's what the X-Men were, right? Even
Right.
though people despised them and hated them, they did what was right, and they defended those people because it was right to defend those people, not because, oh, that's how you need to force them into seeing you. Professor X was all about you do good deeds and that gets more attention than bad deeds. But you do it for the right reasons, because that's what you should do if you have powers. What's Stan Lee's famous saying about power, right?
Right.
With great power comes great responsibility, not to get more party stuff and not to your gay girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever the hell you want to do that way. The responsibility is to show people how to be right, how to be admirable. Heroes were always, even in ancient Greek time, larger than life, right?
Right.
If you look at like Troy and the Greek epics, the heroes were like 15, 20 feet tall or some shit like that. They were extraordinary sized people. And the gods are petty, right?
Right.
But the heroes would fight against them. That's half the story of half the heroes, are how they're frustrating the gods and goddesses, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's bad that, and it doesn't matter what type of fiction it is, James Bond, Star Wars, comic books, whatever. I think it's bad to take established characters that people love and change them for your politics. It's not for their politics, you know what I mean? It's not for the politics of the heroes or whatever. It's for the politics of the writers or whatever they want to push for their agenda. But it shouldn't be an agenda thing. It should be the heroes established, you know? Once they're established.
What I find kind of interesting about the situation, though, is that, like, there's a lot of stories that I think kind of help push a more liberal perspective. And I mean liberal probably in the more traditional sense, okay? Not the modern sense. But
I guess you better explain the difference, because what I understand conservative and liberal is conservative wants to stick true to the words of the Constitution, and liberal wants to define it as loosely as they can to cover as much as they can.
Well, the traditional liberal would be somebody who believes in personal freedoms and freedom of thought and that kind of thing. And some of the stuff about non-conformity and being your own person was traditionally the part about being a liberal. Okay, conservatives, you were more of a hive mindset, and then modern politics has come along and changed that quite a bit to where what we now call liberals are way more into hive mind mindset than they ever were before. And conservatives now tend to champion more about personal identity and freedom. But conservatives aren't 100% on this either, because there are certain things they expect people to kind of conform to, and and everybody does that to some degree. But I just think that classic liberalism has been. I mean, people have mined that stuff for stories. It's a lot easier, I think, to kind of follow that route than it is to necessarily come up with a really good, strong conservative story. And yet, the liberals can't seem to do it anymore. And what I mean, because James Bond sleeping around with all those people, that was not going to be for conservatives. You know, the idea that you just sleep around with everybody, that's not a conservative principle. But, you know, at the time, liberals were like, yeah, you know, sexual revolution and all that kind of stuff. And now
I think this is before that, and that's more kind of incorporating the whole Mata Hari sex spy aspect.
Well, I think that it's interesting that some of the classic story types that liberals used to write quite a bit now don't. And again, people that you would normally have considered to be like Orson Scott Card, you know, he's left. But, you know, he's canceled and all that stuff because he couldn't go lockstep with everything.
Well, because he had one divergence, really.
Yeah, I know. He stuck with a more traditional view from the Bible.
Yeah, well, he was, and what really kind of gets my goat about that is that he wasn't saying that gays couldn't be a couple, which is what everybody made it out to sound like he was saying. But that's not what he was saying. What he was saying is that marriage is religious, and the word marriage is religious, not the act of coupling, not the act of being in union, like as far as the government or taxes or any of that shit's concerned. It was just the word marriage that he had a problem with. Other than that, he was pretty much still right there with everything else, you know?
Yeah.
That's what ticks me off about it, is that they didn't bother to look at his argument, you know?
Because you stepped out of line.
Well, and that's what I'm saying, you know? It's like, that's why there's a saying that liberals always eat themselves, right?
Yep.
So eventually, they're not going to have someone to pick on because they just picked on everybody else till they're gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I was saying. What really upset me is if they bothered to listen to anything that he was actually saying, they wouldn't even have made half the claims that they were making. They would have still had a strong advocate. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That I guess that's what I'm getting at, is that they shot themselves in the foot, or hip, I guess, because it's more than the foot. It's not just him. It's that whole canceling aspect, when you think about it. Is just saying, like they did with Mike Resnick. Canceled him because he said that an editor was a pretty woman. What? Since when is that an insult? He was saying she was capable, but he was saying that because she was in his writers group, that some of the wives of the writers got jealous. Well, would it make sense if they got jealous just because she was a good editor? That just doesn't make sense. And this is a guy that's been a mentor to a lot of really good science fiction fantasy writers. All they're listening to what's being said instead of making it up so that they can cancel people. They would still be a lot stronger. They're still trying to cancel George Martin too, right?
Oh, are they?
Yeah, because it's something he said too. He mispronounced the black writer's name, and he said black writer, something like that. Like, really? This is what the world has come to. Like we were talking about last time. If you have got nothing worse in your life to bitch about and have to dig so that you can find a reason to be bitchy about crossword, you know what I mean? Huh? You must not have a very bad life if you've got to dig so hard to find something to bitch about that you're digging the crossword puzzles. And not even saying, oh, that crossword puzzle said new breath or something like that, which would be offensive, right?
Right.
They're not saying that. They're just saying crossword puzzles are patriarchy. What? You can see what's going on. I really never can tell how much. Oh, what probably would help with playing largely, right?
Well, I mean, it's all right. I mean, I can see what you've been doing. I get how you're trying to make like the clouds kind of point towards the figure in the front, and you've been layering parts of it.
I'm layering all of it. This is still a layer.
Right.
What's really funny is a lot of this stuff is over the axe and over her arm and over her hand and over her face. And when I peel that mask off, it won't be as much as what we're seeing right now. So the harsh part about that for me is that I can't see that stuff either right now because it's painted over. I have to wait till tomorrow till I can see the texture. I'm also painting more opaquely now.
One of my former students is a barber now, and as such, he's in town. I like to, yeah. I mean, I just like to support his business, you know. and my son needs a haircut, something fierce. My beard needs trimmed, something fierce. And he uses this app called The Cut, which, whatever. I'm not super thrilled with the app, but that's what he uses to book your appointments. And it has men's cuts, and that's 18 and older. But then he has kids' haircuts that are 16 and under. And I'm thinking, well, what the hell do you choose if you're 17? Because it's right in between those. So I will probably have to ask him about that when I see him, I guess.
You don't get a special deal?
Oh, he normally is pretty good with me. He normally gives me a deal, and I just like he'll normally give me a discount, and I'll just put it right back in his tip, so he gets it anyway.
Yeah, I was being facetious anyway.
Oh well, it was kind of funny because I did not know he was a barber. I did not know he had his own shop. Didn't know any of that. I was visiting my lawyer, oddly enough, and there's this big community building downtown that has a lot of different offices in it. And my lawyer is up near, like, on the 3rd floor, and the floor numbers are a little weird. That's just the best way to put it. And so I got off on the wrong floor, and he called out my name, and I was like, "Oh, hey!" Like, I did not know he was even in there. So ever since, I've been, that's who I go to. Oh. Ugh. I might have to be evil.
Oh.
Well, my wife teaches a drumming class, a cardio drumming class on Saturdays at the Y. And
What is that anyway?
what?
What is that anyway? Cardio.
Oh.
training?
Well, the way we do it is we have these buckets, and then you take these exercise balls, and you put them on the bucket, and you have drumsticks, and you play music, and you drum along with the music, doing very specific things and various moves, and it gets your heart rate up, and it's more fun than just doing aerobics, I guess. I mean, you're banging on stuff, you can get some frustrations out, and that's fine and all, except for I normally want to sleep, and right now I don't know if it's my diet. I don't know what it is. I mean, since the beginning of the year, I've lost about 50 pounds now, and like I'm still working on it, obviously, but part of the diet, I tend to get dehydrated easily, and when I run out of energy, like once the fuel is used up, it's used up. Like you can feel a crash coming real fast, and so like today we were doing it, and we got near the end, and I started getting super dizzy. Like I had to sit down. Like there's just no way I could get. I was like, that's it, I'm done. And it felt like my head was too heavy for my neck, which my wife's like, that's a sign of dehydration. I'm like, well, okay, maybe that's what it is, but it's just one of those things. It's not very comfortable being this heavy and then trying to exercise. And I also don't like the fact that every time we raise our hands, like I don't have a shirt long enough really that it'll cover my gut, like an exercise shirt big enough.
What we're talking about is fat people problems for anyone that's watching that don't know.
Yeah, like if you think it's just go out and exercise. Well, when you do this and you show off your belly, and your belly is not something people want to see, Yeah, it's just, and there are mirrors, so it just
Well,
everyone
certainly
sees
you're
it.
self-conscious about it, but that's just as valid, right?
Yeah, so whatever. I mean, it's
But
just
that's fat people problems. We don't want to show our belly off and whatever.
yeah. So whatever. I mean, it's just so it's uncomfortable, and oh, so I could set up my appointment to get my hair cut during her class time. But that's all we had.
This is the only time I can get in.
Yeah. Sorry, babe. That's all I could do. No, like, I was not going to go today. I was like, no, I want to write. I don't care. But she made me breakfast, and I was like, oh, well, I guess I'll go.
Damn,
it was a good breakfast. You know, it was like, So I went. But then I was just, I mean, literally, it took a long time to recuperate, which it shouldn't, but it did. And part of that's my fault, because if I'm there, I'm going to do it, right? Like, I'm going to try to break my drumsticks. I'm going to try to break the ball. Like, I'm getting my aggression out. I have no problem. Like, I want it to be loud. I want it to be hardcore. But it took its toll today. But I got to weigh in. That's how I know how much weight I've lost. So I wasn't too upset. My older son he's gotten to be a bit large as well, which is not good. And we're trying to encourage him, you know, while you're young, it's a lot easier to get rid of this. And so he's working at it.
Put it on and take it off anyway.
I know, but my God, so he's a swimmer. And, you know, if he looked like a swimmer, I think he'd do really, really well, because as big as he is, he's not the best or anything, but he's not the worst either. Like, he's a beast. I don't know where it comes from, but my God, that kid he has endurance, he's got muscle. He's just also got a lot of weight to carry, so it's harder to get through the water. But he got up to about my size, which really made me worried. So we're both trying to lose weight, and I was like, I don't know, kid, I might be thinner than you, because he's trying low-calorie diets, which he has discovered potatoes. Like, he found these potatoes that are just huge, and he'll just bake one and eat it. And I'm just like, but what about the butter and all the things that make a potato taste good? He's like, whatever, it's good. And I'm just like, okay. So as long as he can stick with it, you know, it's good. But I also think a low-carb diet will tend to be faster. But swim season's coming up. He'll lose pounds then, too, because, my God, they go through a lot of work for that. And in all reality, I just want my kid to be healthy. I don't want him to be diabetic.
Right.
So, anyone thinks that I'm fat shaming my son, I'm not. I just want him to be healthy.
Yeah, I definitely hear you there. Like, that's what we want, right? We always want better for our children.
Right.
No matter how you look at it, you always want better for our kids.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, sometimes they don't. And then we're kind of stuck in the middle.
Yeah. Now, my younger son is quite a bit thinner. He was chunky little fellow, but he started really, and he also stuck with like a more low-calorie diet for most days, and he exercises quite a bit. And, you know, he's definitely trying to slim his waist, and he doesn't want to bulk up, but he would also like to be a little bulky. You know, he just wants more muscle tone. So he's a lot closer to a healthy weight. Like, he starts saying stuff where I'm like, kid, I don't want you to have anorexia. You know, when he says stuff like, well, I haven't done anything to deserve food today. I'm like, dude, whoa, bad attitude. Like, you don't need to deserve food. You need to eat. You know how Indiana Jones was, kind of conceived as something from George Lucas and Spielberg's youth, like the serial stuff they had growing up, and also Ducktales. But
Little radio.
yeah, the radio serials and stuff, and but that was from their youth. And when I was growing up, Indiana Jones was set in he was kind of from, not too long ago, but still pretty, when he's fighting Nazis, that's well before I was ever alive.
Yeah, the 40s.
Right. So it's, I don't know. I was thinking about how if we write about stuff, like if you wanted to do something from our youth, or kind of inspired by the stuff from our youth, it's like, do you go with 70s or 80s? Because that's kind of where it is, I guess. And then, does it have the same kind of nostalgic appeal that Indiana Jones would have? Not that I'm saying an Indiana Jones character set in the 80s. That's not really what I'm saying. I'm just saying.
No, I get what you're saying, but you're talking about time period. You're not talking about character.
Yeah. I just don't know if it. I know there's kind of a big push. Stranger Things kind of did the whole 80s thing, and, I kind of see that. But I don't know. It just doesn't feel the same as Indiana Jones did.
Well, it's not going to, because it's not an adventure.
Oh, there's that too.
What's that?
You're right. I get that. But the
Well,
time period.
I'm just saying that that's going to change a little bit of the thing, a little bit of the attraction to it. What are you writing to? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. It's just one of those things where when I see stuff set in the 80s, there's a nostalgia and experience, whereas Indiana Jones being set in the 40s, it's like, oh, it's set in the 40s. There is no nostalgia for me, obviously.
No,
because it wasn't
there
there.
shouldn't be. But
Hope not.
So Vietnam is late 60s, early 70s. Yeah, it's not my time, but I was alive during that time. So a lot of it's familiar to me, if that makes sense. So it's not exactly my time period, but it feels like nostalgia to me,
Yeah. I need to take a quick break. I will be back in just a moment. Well, a few moments. But I'll be back.
What they
So
are.
you'll have to talk to yourself. Be back in a second, man.
See, now I was generous enough not to say, well, I've been talking to myself all along. So I like a silver for playing around with clouds, but it's not the only thing. I also like flats and angle brushes. I'm gonna use this. Wait, I gotta get something else to mix them up. Tell me, do you like the new music? Well, look at that. That was quick. I guess nobody does like the new music, do they? Okay. Now I'm going to mix up some lighter blue. Because that sky is not what dark at the top. Those are clouds that are not yet. Those are clouds that are not in front of the setting sun. They've got some distance to them. Yeah. That was a loud sound.
I'm back.
Hey, welcome back.
Oh. You're missing the canvas. You keep hitting the plate.
Yeah. That's a good thing because that wouldn't have done anything anyway. That wouldn't have done the canvas.
It's just got funny.
I'm using a plate as a palette. You're lighten the value a lot more than I normally might because, as usual, it dries darker. So now I've got to figure out how much darker I can get and still keep it lit.
Are you friends with Martin Shoemaker on Facebook?
I am.
You see that he posted something about a walk in the clouds?
No.
He said the grape harvesting scene in A Walk in the Clouds is better than the barn raising scene in Witness. Which makes me laugh because there is a special place in my heart for Witness. I think that was the first time I'd ever seen nudity in a film.
Wow.
Yeah, I just
So you weren't the Fast Times at Ridgemont High crowd.
that was a little above my pay grade, I think. Witness probably was too, but my parents wanted to see Witness. And I don't know, maybe they figured a movie with Harrison Ford with the Amish wasn't going to be that bad. So I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those things where, again, there was one theater and that my parents would go to normally, and that was in Syracuse, and it tended to show. I mean, for a long time, that was the only theater I ever really went to. Occasionally, we would go to Warsaw, and then eventually Goshen started having a good theater, and we'd go there. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things. I'd have to look at the dates, but I saw last time at Ridgemont High. I think I originally saw it on TV, so I know it didn't have anything on TV.
Not the famous Phoebe Cates. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah. Spring Break, and there was like a whole slew of movies that were based on college nudity.
I think I read something today that said J.J. Abrams was looking to reboot Krull.
Yeah, it's not looking to. He's already signed on to.
Oh, okay.
And
Well-
apparently, the company that he's doing it through has quietly acquired the rights from Sony, because Sony had the rights, because whatever the original company, I think it was Columbia, originally sold their rights to Sony.
Yeah.
And Henry Cavill signed on to it, Cavill, whatever his name is.
Well, that'll be interesting. That's a movie that I think could be made better with a better budget.
Well, it was it was pretty much a flop. I loved it as a kid.
It
And
took me forever to be able to see it.
Robbie Coltrane and Liam Neeson got their start in that movie.
That came to Syracuse, and my parents wouldn't go see it, and so I had to wait for it to come out on video, and then I had to wait for my video store that was in Syracuse to get it. It's just. I mean, it took a long time. I mean, it was out for years before I saw it, which I enjoyed it, but
yeah, I liked it. I liked the elements of it that some of them made it into the advertisements and some of them didn't. But I liked the story of the Widow of the Web. I liked.
Yeah.
I guess that's way over. Yeah, I like the story of the Widow of the Web. I like the guy that had to, can't even remember his name, but the guy that they went to that had to break the hourglass. And
Yeah. Oh, I thought there was all kinds of good stuff with it. Just
oh yeah,
you know,
the Cyclops.
yeah.
I think that they kind of treated us as some information in that movie. Like when the seer turned out to be an imposter.
Yeah.
They didn't have anything that gave you any clue, really. I mean, like, I've watched the movie many times, and well, maybe that's not what I was thinking. Maybe something else. But I thought they should have not. It's not really the seer being an imposter as much as them having the ability to do that. Because most of it, you're seeing the Slayers, and the Slayers are like the bug brain thing, but they're really all you see is armor. So it was kind of surprising to know that they could assume other forms. I was a little bit disappointed. I actually read that book to Eli, and yeah, and he liked it. We watched the movie afterwards because he knew the character's name, Colin and what's up. But because I had seen the movie before, I read the adaptation.
Yeah.
I didn't think that Alan Dean Foster used that adaptation, used the medium to the best of its ability. He could have filled in gaps and just didn't.
Huh.
Like it was very cinematically written. It was like there was no feeling behind it. We didn't have any backstory of how Colin met with. We didn't have we didn't need to have all that backstory, but some of it would have been nice. And we didn't have any more information on the Beast. That was one of the things I was kind of hoping to get out of reading the book, because the way that they did that in the movie, they just kind of did like somebody drank something and was on a bad trip, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I was disappointed in that with the movie because it was such a big badass bad guy, and he really wasn't as badass bad guy as I was led to think.
Well, I think that again, I would definitely say that story could be told better, and
there's a lot of things I liked about it. There's a lot of things that were B-movie about it. A lot of things that were B-movie about it. You know, another one that can be redone better would be Hawk the Slayer. And I love that movie too, you know.
Right.
Just it could be done better, that's all. the thing that I got a problem with is that J.J. Abrams is not the answer. I'm not saying that he can't be, but I'm just saying what I've read, they make it sound like, oh, he brought Star Wars back and all that. No, he wrote a sucky version of Star Wars as everyone else in this new universe, you know?
Yeah. If anything, he started the trend of not really having a clue where it was going. Like, my complaint of the sequels, because I can enjoy them. Like, if you turn your brain off, it's still Star Wars.
Man. I tried. Well, I couldn't.
I can. I just like there are some James Bond movies that you just have
glad you can, because I can't. I love the fact that somebody else can.
But
it makes it kind of worth putting up with it if you know somebody's liking it really.
Well,
other than going, oh, they still have light speeders or you know.
Yeah, some of that is built into the whole sequel process. You get to see some evolution of things. In fact, that's actually the latest episode of Ahsoka on Disney Plus they finally get to Thrawn in some other galaxy.
Yeah, I've noticed that. I've seen pictures of what their representation of Thrawn is.
Right. So
I've seen memes already too. So
that's because he's been eating well for being on that terrible planet. But anyway. But the stormtrooper outfits that are left, they're all cobbled together and stuff. And they've also taken that it's that Japanese art style where if you have a broken pot, you put it together with the gold along the crack. You don't try to hide the crack. You make the crack part of the finished piece or whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
A little bit.
Japanese.
Yeah, you finding the proper name isn't going to do anything while I'm painting, because I'm not going to look it up.
It's fine.
I know what you're talking about, kind of.
It's the art of putting broken pottery pieces back together with gold. And
right.
So they've applied that to stormtrooper uniforms and plus other wrappings and stuff, and it's
does Ahsoka take place before or after the fall of the Empire?
It's after the fall of the Empire, and these guys have been
after the fall of the First Order,
before the arrival of the First Order. So, but again, Thrawn has been in this other universe since before the fall of the Empire. So it's just kind of neat because they've had no way of necessarily getting new uniforms and all this stuff, and they've had loss. It's kind of neat to see the general progression of the story, the evolution of costumes and devices and stuff. And the sequels had some of that too, and that's always something I enjoy. That's like Batman Beyond. It was my favorite parts of the Batman Beyond cartoon. We're always seeing the end game of characters from the original Batman series. Seeing what happened to Bane after being on that drug for so long, and just all that kind of stuff. I'll eat that stuff up all day and night. So the sequels kind of had some of that, so that I can enjoy that. And some of it wasn't good. And again, I liken it to James Bond movies. There are some Sean Connery ones in particular that are really not good. But because I grew up watching watching James Bond with my father, and I can remember those were one of the rare times I got to stay up late was to watch a James Bond movie on TV. I can sit through those and enjoy them, even though I know they're crap. So, the series, the sequels for Star Wars are kind of like that for me. And the biggest problem I think the sequels had, in my humble opinion, was that they never had a plan for what they were going to do. Like J.J. Abrams basically rewriting A New Hope didn't necessarily help, but there were different things hinted at, but they were never really planned for. That's his mystery box writing method, which the writer kind of has to know what's in the box, and I don't think he did. And that kind of shows throughout the rest of the series. And if they had taken the third film, if they had known this is where we're heading toward, they could have been building that since the first film. And they could have done it well. Like, it's a storyline that could have worked if they had been building it from the beginning.
Could have worked.
The Return of the Emperor, I mean, that's from Legends. And
The Return of the Emperor.
Yeah. There were Legends books that had
I just
the Emperor.
don't know. What are you talking about? The Return of the Emperor? Talking about Snoke?
No, that Snoke dies off in the second sequel. The third film, what was it, The Rise of Skywalker? Has the Emperor back. Did you not see that one? Has his clone.
I did see it, but it was just so bad.
Okay, but I'm saying the idea that the Emperor would have had a cloning program, the idea that, he was going to come back even if he got killed, all that kind of stuff, it could work. Like that if you had built it up and planned for it. But instead, they just kind of threw it together at the end because they weren't happy with The Last Jedi. And then they had to retcon everything and slam all this.
I think they just sucked. That's all. Like, no, really. I mean, like that whole the middle one.
Yeah.
The middle one, the one where Luke comes back and saves him and dies.
Yeah.
That was fucking stupid. The whole entire plan was to run to a planet with only one way in and one way out, while dying off while you're going there, and not tell anybody that the plan's there, and just hope people show up. That's no kind of fucking plan. That's no kind of general. Anyone that fucking does that ain't a fucking plan. That's not a military commander with any sense of strategy at all.
Well, I could say something evil.
What's that?
I'll put an evil comment in the private chat. So,
just
there you go. There's my evil comment.
Well, that's not an evil comment, but the problem is that wasn't the only one.
I know.
That's like in the beginning of that movie, Poe Dameron is supposed to be an excellent pilot, but he's so stupid that he commands his attack force of bombers, which shouldn't exist in space anyway.
Yeah.
Especially gravity bombers. But his idea is that you can fly them so close that if there's one catastrophic failure, everyone's going to die.
Yeah.
That's brilliant planning. I don't buy it. That's just crap.
Well, yeah.
And it's not your evil comment. It's my evil comment.
Don't get me wrong. I will not say that the sequels are necessarily good films. I said I can enjoy them. That's like saying, I could really dig having a quarter pounder.
It's not your evil comment, it's mine.
Yeah. Well, I'd say
They
it's
were
the same
directly
thing.
related, I'm sure, but
Same comment. But
I'm directly related. I am positive, but
yeah. But whatever. I mean, it's just like Star Wars has been kind of playing catch up ever since, to where like Rebels and Clone Wars have been trying to and now Ahsoka have been trying to kind of fill in the holes, and they're
there's no filling in that. You just fucked it up. That's all. And you can't take away everybody seeing it and knowing it was fucked up. You can't backtrack over that. Sorry, it's there.
I know. It's just that, okay, so I don't know if you ever saw the last season of the Clone Wars, or in particular, like the last 3 episodes or something like that. But it's happening at the same time as episode 3 and Order 66. Like it's the end of it is occurs right after Order 66.
The end of what?
Order 66. That was in episode 3.
No, the end of what occurs?
Clone Wars. The end of the show, the Clone Wars. The last season, the last couple episodes, overlaps with what's going on in episode 3. And it's quite frankly way more impactful than what episode 3 was, which it shouldn't be that way. And I have my problems about the prequels. Namely, I think they had their mice quotient wrong, quite frankly. Because I think that was more about exploring the universe than it was about exploring the characters. Because I think, we've been told all this time that Darth Vader hunted down the Jedi, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, we got 15 minutes left of this movie. I guess we'll use Order 66 and kill them all real fast. That's not what we were told happened.
They started changing that way back.
Well, it starts from...
He already said, he established that Anakin was supposed to be an accomplished pilot when Obi-Wan met him. He didn't even finish a race. That's why they went back and re-released the movie so they could literally delete that scene. Or delete part of that scene.
I mean, technically, he was the only human that could do what he did.
That was not an accomplished pilot.
Okay, and
he had won one race, not before they even met him. He won the race after they met him. So either Obi-Wan's a fucking liar, which I guess that's possible.
Kind of is. But the whole "he's our only hope," no, there's another, which would have been his sister, and it's like, well, yeah, but there's also Kanan Jarrus, and there's Ezra, and there's Ahsoka. There are several other Jedi still alive. And it's like, So, whatever. But, again, I can still enjoy them. Even when, really, the ultimate stupidity in those films really is R2-D2 and C-3PO.
There's a comedy relief.
Yes, but the fact that R2-D2 was there from the beginning.
Yeah, that was bullshit.
Anakin built C-3PO.
Right.
I guess
they don't recognize Darth Vader.
Yeah.
And he doesn't recognize C-3PO when he, allows them to be torn apart.
Yeah, it's just all kinds of wrong. that is, I think, the biggest error. I mean, that's worse than Jar Jar Binks.
And he was supposed to be comic relief.
Oh, I know. He was dumb, but
Well,
it's like, all right, whatever. I mean, I never really liked C-3PO, so I was like, well, is he really any worse than C-3PO?
I never had a problem with Jar Jar Binks. It wasn't like a character I was like, oh, I want to get that toy or whatever. But
right.
I never had a problem with him. When I heard the problems that people had with him, they were just fucking ridiculous to me. Because the problems were, oh, he talks Ebonics and blah, blah, blah. Well, George Lucas didn't say he talks Ebonics. He said, I'm going to trust the actor to create his own character's voice. So it's on the actor how Jar Jar Binks sounds. That the way that they enunciate words and all that, that's a creation of the actor. Just like if you watch Enemy Mine, the alien voice, that's Lou Gossett Jr. That's all Lou Gossett Jr. He created that.
Right. Although I would say that technically George Lucas went with what the actor did, but ultimately that's...
No, he left it to the actor to do that.
Well, okay, but it's George Lucas's prerogative to say, you know what, that's not working. So ultimately, the responsibility is George Lucas. The actor tries something, and then George, all right, let's go with that. It's what? Because if George Lucas had said, no, I don't like that, we got to try something else, the guy would have tried something else. And the fact that George Lucas did not say that means that it's ultimately George Lucas's responsibility.
Well, yeah, okay. So, but but my issue with that is that he didn't say make it sound like that, but he did intend to do. In Hollywood, I know in the old black and white movies, they had a black woman in the kitchen or a black woman that was the comedy relief. She was like the washerwoman, or she was like one of the servants. Now I don't want to distinguish servant from slave. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not meaning slave. I mean she had a job and she was doing it for whoever she was working for. But that was the comedy relief. Like Gone with the Wind, I want to say. And it's an old tradition. It's not something that he popped up with on his own and said, oh, like I'm gonna mess with everybody and do Bill Cosby's mush mouth. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm just saying, I'm not saying that ultimately it wasn't him that made that decision, because that's crap. He is the director, but also thinking about it in that light, the first 3 Star Wars movies were really, really good because of who his wife was at the time, was the editor. And she was a really good movie editor.
Well, there's more than just that. I mean, there were...
No, I'm not saying that it was just that, but what I'm saying is that made it much better.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Like the best Star Wars movie, and still the best Star Wars movie, is The Empire Strikes Back. What did The Empire Strikes Back have that none of the other movies had?
Kasdan as director?
How about Lee Brackett?
Okay.
Who was a science fiction writer. And that was the only time that they had actually put a science fiction writer into writing the story. So Lawrence Kasdan's been part of it the whole time, but he's been more like doing a comic book script from somebody else's plot. Like remember when I was telling you about George Lucas and Steven Spielberg talking about Indiana Jones and saying that they wanted him having an affair with Marion like at the age of 12. Like when she said I was just a kid, it was literally supposed to be like the age of 12. Lawrence Kasdan was in those conversations. He was ended up being the writer that did all that. So they made those decisions, and it was Lawrence Kasdan who wrote it, right?
Right.
So I would be careful about crediting Lawrence Kasdan too much. Because, if you're just writing what Lucas tells you to write, or what they decide in that meeting it should be written.
I think that George Lucas has an amazing eye for. I mean, even when he's not doing the art, he'll go through like this, but not that, and this doesn't quite have the right feel, and like he knows what it's supposed to look like, and he knows what
wants it to look like. Yeah, I agree with that.
And so I would say he has a good artistic eye. But like he does not know how to write dialogue. He doesn't. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that it's not his forte. And you saw his work.
Did you ever watch Milius?
What?
Did you ever watch Milius?
No.
Documentary about John Milius, who is the director of Conan, and he was a writer, but he went to George Lucas, and Steven Spielberg were in film school together.
Okay.
Most of those guys relied on him when they were in the spot for dialogue.
Okay. I'm just saying.
Like Jaws. When Quint's talking about his World War II story.
Yeah, the Indianapolis.
Yeah, that was written over the phone by John Milius. So
okay.
Yeah, that dialogue was John Milius' dialogue, and John Milius, that's what he's known for.
I'm just saying that Lucas needed a lot of. He needed an editor. I mean, that's just all there is to. Like, he's got a vision, but he doesn't know how to make it come to fruition, I don't think. And yeah, he needs that kind of help. Which there's nothing wrong with that, because his vision's amazing, but making it digestible for an audience, maybe not so much. And the prequels have a lot of the problems because George Lucas didn't have anyone saying, dude, like, that doesn't work. And it's kind of like the Stephen King effect. Well, I'm just saying it's kind of the Stephen King effect, where after a while, Stephen King stopped worrying about having an editor and stopped worrying about having people tell him this is way too long or this part really isn't necessary, and his books kept getting fatter and fatter and wasn't necessarily better. It's just one of those things where having someone to help rein you in is a useful thing. But as you get more famous and successful, I've noticed a lot of people rely on it less and less.
Because that goes back to the new writer rule, right?
Yeah.
If you're an established writer, people already know you're going to tell a good story, so they let you get away with a hell of a lot more.
Yeah. That's kind of what I think happened with Star Wars. So, oh God, what's the hell is the guy's name? It's not Dave Filoni, but it's
Jon Favreau.
He is Filoni. Who's the guy, the wolf guy? He's got a hat, and he always wears a hat, and he was in charge of Clone Wars.
But Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau the real showrunners, like The Mandalorian and all that.
Oh, it is Dave Filoni. Okay, so I think so. Dave Filoni was an animator originally, but he's really good with the lore, and he's really good at like keeping kind of within the bounds of what he's supposed to do. And I think he's a good overall. I think he's a good because it's not his property. It's someone, you know what I mean? Like he has constraints with what he can do that George Lucas didn't, and I think it's actually really good that Dave Filoni's working on projects. Because he wants to make, I mean, I don't know, I think he feels more beholden to the idea of it, and I think if the more he gets involved, the better off things will be. I understand that his directing style might be a little immature for some people, but his overall direction, I think, is good. So
I really can't speak too much of that because I haven't really. I pretty much dropped Star Wars after the last trilogy. It was just crap. I watched a little bit of The Mandalorian until it became crap. I watched Obi-Wan, which is complete bullshit.
Obi-Wan was
terrible. I watched Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett. But to be fair, the only reason that I watched that stuff was because my son's girlfriend's parents had an account and let him use that account on our TV.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have bought Disney Plus for that shit. I'm pretty much. You'd have to really, really show me something amazing from Star Wars for me to go back to it at this point.
Oh, that's fine.
Plus, Disney Studios wants to ruin normality, and they want to put themselves right in politics all the time. And I don't want to give them my money because of that shit. But they really haven't done anything. Haven't done anything that makes me miss them, you know.
Right.
Like I've heard people talk about this being better and that being better, but they're not saying it's good. They're really saying it's just better than the shit that was out last time.
Well,
that to me, that's not good. That's just better than like, it's a smaller turd.
No, there is. Oh God. Oh, Andor was good.
I've heard completely the opposite. I guess
Andor takes structurally, it's a little weird. Like, it did not help that it was released one episode a week, when really it's because like the first 2 episodes, I remember they just end. Like there's no arc of an episode. It's just all right. That's all you get now. So structurally, it was weird. Like it would be better to watch it now that you can watch the whole thing. But no, I'd say it was good. Which hands down, it was good. Ahsoka, I'm a little worried isn't going to stick the landing because they take so long. I mean, it's. I think this is.
What makes it good?
Well, Ahsoka to me has been, other than it took so long for an 8-episode season to really get to the bad guy. It just seemed.
I think you missed my question.
Oh, what?
What made Andor good?
Oh, it's a good spy series. Like it really does kind of set up that whole character.
I don't know anything about it.
What?
I don't know anything about it except for some people like it, some people hate it.
Well, it, it's I'm telling you, it's good writing.
I'm just asking what makes it good.
But you need to see it like in sets of 3, because like the first 3 episodes really are kind of like one actual story, and then kind of leads into the second 3, and so it's kind of done in chunks. And so you get this background of what's going on and what life is like under the Empire. You get to see things that are kind of hinted at in other things, but this one really shows it. It gets to show what they're doing with like this prison colony. And there's a prison break, which was interesting. The heist part was interesting. Hey, Dustball says, is that Gauche?
Gouache. No, it's not gouache.
Wash.
It's not gouache.
It's
It's acrylic.
yeah.
Golden open. Golden open acrylic. Golden open. Gouache dries a lot more matte-like. I'm still just building the forms here.
And Ahsoka, I would say, is good. Like, there were some red flags, because it's, you know, the red flags were, it's, not that there's anything wrong with a female-centered storyline,
I
but
don't care about that.
right. Well, I don't either.
Well,
But
I'm just saying, like that doesn't make my judgment whether it's a good story or not.
Right, but I'm saying it's a red flag because of the political push that Disney tends to have, right? So this Disney across all of their properties likes to do the men are incompetent or evil, and women
that's a
are
red flag.
well. So it sent red flags.
Anybody being incompetent or evil just because they're male, female, racial, whatever.
But it hasn't done that. Like, it's okay, so most of the main characters are female, but it works, and they're not making it anti-male, and they're not, it's like, okay, so the red flag, which is a warning flag, has so far turned out not to be a big problem, so that's good.
Okay,
and
that's just like we were talking about. It's not necessarily making it good. It's just not making it bad because of it.
I'm saying that it was a concern that I had, that I think anyone who pays attention to what's going on in Ahsoka, if you only look at the surface level, it's going to send up a red flag. And I'm saying that so far, there's nothing to it. So you can kind of ignore it for now. But as for what makes it good, again, we're getting to see new universes. We're getting to see new aspects of, like, the Purrgil showed up in the Clone Wars at the end. No, they showed up at the end of Rebels. But seeing them in live action, that's kind of cool. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous, but because space whales, okay. But it's a fantasy story, so why not space whales? The fact that we have this whole different Jedi, like this Balin guy, he's not a Sith, but he's not a Jedi. His lightsaber's orange. He's got a Padawan who wants power, so it sounds like a Sith, but he's fighting for a greater good. So there's some complexity there, which I like. It has the Night Sisters. It's exploring more of them, which I find interesting. The only problem is it has progressed slowly. So I'm a little worried they're going to rush the ending. But if they stick the ending, it'll be a great series. If they stick the ending. I mean, oh my goodness. That last episode where they finally got to the new galaxy and you get to see these stormtroopers. It's just, I'm like, that is a great extrapolation from where they were. It's a great way of yeah, they were way out in this galaxy with no contact, and they can't fix things. There's no other, like, they can't just go out and buy more parts. Like they're scrounging, and what does that look like when
That's the same thing that they did in The Mandalorian.
were the Empire? Well, sort of.
No, not the Empire.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
They're talking about scrounging for parts because they couldn't just replace parts.
Right. And that's actually a continuation of this, of that same thing. And that's one of the things I liked about The Mandalorian is when they're going through and you have these remnants. Well, this is a remnant, and they're exploring that remnant, and I find that an interesting topic.
Okay.
And the artistic design has been spot on. So far, there's one thing I would say I thought was stupid, but they've done that in other Star Wars properties, so I can't really say it's like what they did. Because at one point they have Ahsoka standing outside of her ship, and I'm just like, they did that in Rebels too. The science of Star Wars is not the most physically grounded, but I guess in Clone Wars they had Darth Vader flying a TIE fighter. He was standing on top of his TIE fighter, so he's flying it with the Force just so he can look badass, have a nice entry. So, it looks cool until you start thinking about it. But in the end, that's the same thing as AT-ATs or AT-ATs, whichever way you side on that argument. But
well, I mean, that's supposed to be their call letters, whatever.
Yeah, it is.
I know what you're talking about, and that's the important thing.
But, if you really think about those are some of the dumbest machines ever. But they look cool.
There's, with all the advancement that they have.
Yeah, but they look cool. So, it's just it's the same type of thing. If you could like it in one, but you want to criticize the other, it's like, to kind of need to remain consistent in your criticism. I mean, I suppose you don't have to remain consistent in your criticism, but I like to. So.
You don't have to remain consistent in your opinion, right?
Well, I mean, I can change my opinion, but while I have that opinion, I would like it to be consistent. So if I want to sit there and say Star Wars needs to be grounded in physics, and that's not going to work because it's just not. The ships, you don't fly ships like that in space. It's not how they work.
Right. There's no sound in space.
Right. So we know that Star Wars is not based in, the realm of physics.
No, I'm not the one who tried to say that. That's Lucas, right? Tried to change it from what it was, which was, I don't know why. That's kind of screwing over the fan base.
Well,
the fan base come to expect it to be magic, the Force being magic, not being some scientific midichlorian crap.
Well, yeah, that was a big error in the... That's one of those things David Farland never ever explained. that thing about the more concrete they got with the Force, the worse it got. Which completely goes against his thing about having... I don't know
how David Farland has anything to do with that. That is... it's the same thing as taking away that statement about Anakin being an accomplished pilot. It is George Lucas changing his mind on how he wants things.
Well,
at first he wanted it to be a religion, and then he decided that religion is not what he wanted to be promoting with Star Wars.
Okay, but Dave Farland or Dave Overton, whatever.
Yeah,
he had pushed basically the Brandon Sanderson model of magic, and that idea that people have to know the rules and understand them. And
well, you only have to know the rules and understand them if you use that to solve the main problem. That's the Sanderson rule.
well, again, you have the Force that fixed the first movie. The resolution is brought about by the Force.
Yeah, but it didn't have to be.
Well, someone else took a shot. It didn't work. The only reason why it worked,
that guy seemed like he was the guy that was going to make the shot anyway.
No, but that guy relied on technology, and Luke relied on the Force.
Yeah, but that's like saying if one sniper missed, they're all going to miss.
Well, I'm just saying
that it didn't have to be a guy with the Force to make that happen.
Yeah, but David Wolverton said you had to understand the rules, and the more concrete you were, the better off your magic system was. And I simply pointed out, hey, the more concrete George Lucas got with the Force, the worse it got. If he had kept it nice and fuzzy, it would have been fine.
No, the problem is that he changed the rules. That's what I'm saying. Like, David Farland didn't have anything to do with him changing his mind about what the rules were.
No, but Dave Farland did have a theory about writing, which I think Star Wars shows the counterpoint to, that no, always having a hard system for magic is not the answer.
I don't think he ever said that. I think that Brandon Sanderson has rules of magic, but they're also only involved with magic systems, with you understanding how somebody's going to use this magic to defeat another magic. Other than that, you could just say, "Oh, he cast that spell and boom, it's done." You don't have to understand how hard it could be, because as writers, what are we trying to do? We're trying to make everything a little bit more difficult, right? We're trying to make them pull victory from the jaws of defeat, but you're not going to understand how they pull victory from the jaws of defeat if you don't understand how close to defeat they actually were, or how they use that to get a victory. So I'm not saying, and I don't think he ever was saying, that you have to use magic to that degree.
Well, his response to me was, I will answer that question. I'll try to answer that question later. So again, when I asked him specifically, point blank, how does that theory relate to Star Wars and the Force? It wasn't that I'm not talking about the same thing. It was, I'll get back to that. That's what Dave Wolverton wrote to me.
Okay, but that's probably why, is that he had to think about what you were saying. Just like I had to ask you to explain it a couple of times. See, my problem with that is not that he explained the Force so well that it doesn't work anymore. It's that he changed it from being a magical thing that's part of all the universe, that's inside all of us, and some people can control it, to, oh, they're midichlorians, they're these little cells or whatever. I mean, that's totally different. It wasn't a science, it was a religion, it was a force. That's why it was called the Force. But why didn't they just call it the midichlorians if it was the midichlorians? Because it's bullshit. They changed it to try to make it science later. That's because he was following Campbell. He was using Campbell as, literally using Joseph Campbell as his plotting device. He was following. If you look, he follows every step, and whatever that he misses from the hero's journey in the original Star Wars, he makes up for in the prequels. That's what he did. He and people that were around him attested to using it that way. So it's not something that I'm just thinking of. It's something that's well-known fact.
Yeah, no, he said he was following the hero's journey. So
Right.
he set out to.
Right. So he was missing some things from the hero's journey, and part of those things were turning that from religion to science. And I don't know how that worked, but that was part of the reason. I just, I think Star Wars was fine the way it was, and I was even content with the end. I hear a whole bunch of people that were like, "Oh, or the Return of the Jedi was the worst," and blah blah blah. I liked them all equally. I liked, except for The Empire Strikes Back, which I liked better, but I didn't understand why at first.
See, I did not like Empire Strikes. Growing up for a long time, I did not like Empire Strikes Back. I thought it was the weakest of the three.
Did you not like The Empire Strikes Back, or did you not like the ending of The Empire Strikes Back?
Yeah, well, again, I was a little kid and I didn't like the ending.
Right.
Whereas I liked the endings. I mean, it
wasn't the movie; it was the ending of that movie.
Well, okay, but as I grew older, and I was like, no, this is so much better. So,
right, because you got past the ending and you knew it wasn't just the ending.
Right, and then because I could start recognizing some of the stuff that was going on that, as a kid, I did. Empire Strikes Back came out when I was 4, and I saw that in the theaters. So, yeah, it was definitely, I was a little young. And to have a story that doesn't have a happy ending and all the threads aren't tied up in a nice little bow, on my young mind, it was like, well, that's not cool. What kind of an ending is that? So,
right, because it wasn't the ending.
Right. And
no, I'm not disputing it. I'm just saying, yeah, because it wasn't the ending.
It took me a long time. Like when people were saying, "Oh, that's the best one," and I was like, "No, it's not. It's crazy." And now I can recognize all the cool stuff it was actually doing. But a lot of that's just experience and just understanding more about story. And little kid isn't going to do that.
Right. But so, like, when I watched it, I didn't like the ending first, but I loved everything else about it. Everything else. Like, you didn't love what happened to Han Solo or whatever, but I loved, I say you, but I'm really meaning me. But I did love the battle in the snow and the training on Dagobah and the fight with Luke and the escaping the asteroid creature, and there's a lot of stuff that I loved over the other movies in that movie. So I really can't say, oh, I didn't like that or didn't like that. Just didn't like the ending because I didn't want to see Luke injured and Han Solo frozen in carbonite. How didn't they escape? And how I don't know. That was what I didn't like, but it really did what it told you it was going to do the whole time.
Yeah,
it was almost like a musical where literally it's telling you you're not going to like this, but
well, I mean, it's almost like a Shakespearean tragedy where the tragedy of Romeo and Juliet. They're going to die. Tragedy of Julius Caesar. He's going to die. Like we know bad things are coming. And The Empire Strikes Back it's just that bad things are coming. And once you understand that Empire Strikes Back is a tragedy, whereas the other two are, I mean, the more traditional idea of a comedy, or the more.
Well, if you think about it, what's the title again?
Oh, I know, Empire Strikes Back.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's exactly, it tells you from the get-go what was going to happen,
Yeah. And I think that's it's a good film. I no problem with it. I wish they had kind of kept more of that, and again, I wish they had kept more planning. I feel like I realized the original 3 weren't exactly planned out 100%.
Well, they were plotted out, but they were.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
the possibility of being. Well, that's the thing with any writing, really.
Right, but J.J. Abrams went too far with his mystery box and had no plan for what was coming, and that's why, like that scene with Rey finding Luke's lightsaber and hearing all those voices, and nothing ever comes from that. It's like, but why not? Like,
she's hearing all those voices when it isn't. She's not his relative.
Right.
Like they made it out to be like she was gonna be his kid or something like that, and it really, that wasn't what it was. They had to do that twist, and that's that whole cheating thing. They had to do the twist. If they didn't do the freaking twist, then
they're trying to.
It would have felt like the movie was actually going somewhere.
Again, because they didn't plan anything out, and yeah, I feel like you're right. They just felt like they needed to have a twist.
Yeah, there was no reason that they necessarily couldn't just go with what they knew. They didn't have a twist after you knew. In Empire Strikes Back, we knew that Luke was Darth Vader's kid. It wasn't a surprise when Darth Vader said it.
Oh, I think.
And it didn't have a twist in the Return of the Jedi saying, nah, it really wasn't.
Right. Well, again, that's them retconning because they had no plan.
Right.
And people got so pissed that, she's nothing. Where I think if they had just kept that, they would have been better off. No,
yeah,
she's just
absolutely
somebody. But again, Knights of Ren, another thing. Like, here are these really cool characters. It's the Darth Maul effect. We're never really going to use.
So, you had to bring that up. I did hate that.
Oh God! I mean,
Darth
some of that
Maul, like they made. First of all, they had Ray Parks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how do you have Ray Parks and not use him?
Yeah.
Like, use him for one scene or one main scene. Other than that, he's just like squatting in the background and taking pictures. Like, how do you do that?
I think they were scared of him overshadowing Darth Vader. I really do think that. I think that was the concern. They can't make him more badass than Darth Vader.
Yet, he's more badass than Darth Vader.
Well, they fought before. I think they did.
Huh?
I'm trying to think. In Rebels, I know Ahsoka fights Darth Maul. And
yeah, because Darth Maul's not completely dead or whatever, but
yeah,
he should have been the main villain for that first trilogy, the Darth Vader type villain.
Yeah, something. I would not have killed him off in the first episode.
No, and I wouldn't have killed him off like that either.
And the funny thing is, oh God,
actually,
what's his name?
I think, and because you mentioned it, you kind of opened it up. But if I was going to choose a way to kill Darth Maul, to make it satisfactory, I would have to use the Force to kill him, because he would be too skillful as a warrior. You'd have to be more powerful in the Force.
And what's funny is, like, Christopher Lee is a fantastic
Dracula?
he's great as he's a great villain character. I mean, he just
Oh yeah, because he's been a great villain character all his life.
but in the end he always felt like Darth Sidious light. He's the Temu version of Darth Sidious. And you know, I was like, just really wish you would have kept Darth Maul. But
Dude, I love Darth Maul.
yeah.
Maul, so. Yeah.
Great design.
They
Great.
could have done so much more with him. Like I said, Ray Park, for the people that they had,
Yeah.
Ray Park was the closest thing warrior that they had as the actor.
Dustball said, I kind of wish that Darth Maul was fleshed out more, though. His double-sided lightsaber is so sick. And
Right.
his double-sided lightsaber was a hell of a lot better than Rey's. Rey's was stupid.
Ray's or
yeah, the Dark Ray, the hallucination Ray, whatever it is in the third film, the Vision Ray, where it's like...
I guess I didn't even register. I was thinking you were talking about the crossguard lightsaber.
No, this thing starts
Kylo
off like
Ren.
this and then like flips open. It's so dumb. I'm like, that is the dumbest lightsaber design ever.
Oh yeah, like the folder.
Yeah. It's like, what? I get you're trying to have a different design, but that's lame. But whatever.
It's yeah. Whatever is probably the best route to go with that. It's sad that they have these possibilities. That's like Kylo Ren's lightsaber, because brought it up. I didn't have half as much of a problem with it having a cross guard, which he would cut his wrist off and know it. First time he was swinging that around with that on, he would be chopping his hand off or some shit. But
yeah.
It wasn't powerful. He's chopping down trees and he had to whack and whack and whack and whack and whack. You know, it's like, wait a minute. The other lightsabers can just, flutter through fucking blast doors and shit.
Yeah.
His lightsaber has a hard time going through wood. Nah.
So, have you seen the trailer for Rebel Moon?
I don't know, maybe.
Well, it's going to be on Netflix, I think. Yeah, it's going to be on Netflix. And it's by Zack Snyder. And it's a sci-fi fantasy type thing. And when I watched the trailer, I was like...
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I did see something about that. I don't want to...
It looked like somebody with lightsabers. I was like, I've seen... there's no reason why that technically, I don't think, be owned by George Lucas, although I don't think you can call them lightsabers. But,
Right.
like Thundar had his stone sword.
Yeah, well, and they've had laser swords anyway, too. Do you ever see the David Carradine Death Game?
No.
They were kind of trying to do a Star Wars-ish thing. And so they had these swords that were basically big, long wedges, points, right?
Yeah.
So there was no character to the swords, but they were just like big, long triangles that were really, really thin. But they were glass. They were supposed to be crystal, and they ride around in motorcycles, but they they also had these swords. And when they sword fought, they stare at each other through the crystal, and they could see moves ahead of time.
Yeah.
It was a really parody movie. So, I mean, there's not a whole lot to it, but I was just saying the idea of swords in space, not really totally unique. We break out more brushes today.
Oh.
I only used 2 last time, but this time I don't have to just wait for the sky to dry. I mean, I have to wait for the sky to dry, but I can work more on here,
Yeah.
get more tones in. See, one of the things that I'm doing is I kind of like I'm looking at a reference, and the reference has the sunset reflected in the water, so most of it's this dark orange, but there's some purples too. But there's like a whole kind of yellow orangish going to reflect the sun. Unfortunately, that's exactly where she's standing and where the serpent is, so. What do you think we should do for our next giveaway?
I don't know.
I'm thinking we can do something maybe for Halloween. Or Christmas. This makes me just want to peel the stuff off to see what it looks like.
Yeah.
I know what it's going to look like. That's the whole thing. I got to keep myself in check. Keep myself in check. I hope if there's one thing people that are watching this have learned, it's that you can't mess up too badly in paint that you have to throw it away. You can always just come back in later.
Yep.
Sometimes it actually adds to it to do that way. Kind of like this music. It sounds like it's a video game. Captain Power Juju or something. Love you showing that enthusiasm.
What?
So I love you showing that enthusiasm. The yawning. More paper towels so I can clean this brush some more. Well, Dustball was talking.
Yeah, he contributed.
Right. I'm all for that. I was kind of hoping you'd contribute on when I said, what do you think we should do for a giveaway? I'm not giving a painting away. Not this painting anyway.
Because that's for commission, right?
Yeah, it's a commission. These bigger paintings are always going to be a commission. If I'm doing something that's not a commission, it's going to be littler. Like the one that I did for Jesse.
Oh. Hey, Dustball wants to know, do you think that AI art is considered real art? I already know his answer.
I don't think it's real art. I think it could be used as a tool to help artists make better art.
Yeah, I think my little adventure with it today kind of proves that. I will. So, Dustball, this was a conversation we had earlier, but I'm a writer, and I was trying to go through, and I think Midjourney is a really good tool for inspiration pieces. Like you can kind of, if you're kind of nebulous about what a character looks like, you can try to get something there. I would never use it in a book. Like I would never use it as like my cover or anything like that because I know how it gets its images. And when I went through and I had an idea for a character that had a very specific type of collar. I wanted the collar to be made out of moose antlers. And it could not understand that. It kept putting antlers on the character's head. And because it really can't make something and it's not taking from somebody else. Yeah, it's combining stuff from other people. But if it's not there to combine, it can't do it. So, a moose collar or a moose antler collar just beyond its capabilities. Whereas if I wanted to sit down and draw it, or if Rich wanted to draw it better, then we can do that. But the AI can't. And that, I think, kind of shows that it's not really art. It is.
It can create art. It can produce something from other sources. But
as long as it's there to make.
Right.
You can't make it on its own.
Right. Well, that's the difference between making and creating. You make something, you use different ingredients to make it. You create without it. You create from nothing. An idea is created,
But I think that you can feel free to disagree, but I think that the AI stuff is, I think there are ways of using it to help you out as you make something, but I don't think it's something if that's all it is, I don't really consider it to be art. I don't consider it to be writing. I, it's there to help.
I heard that like, a couple of times today. I don't think there's a distinguishing factor that separates art from writing, because I think they're formed in the same types of ways. I think,
Well, writing is an art.
yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that there's no distinction between art and writing, which you just did. And I'm not, accusing you. I'm just saying, I don't think that's a real distinction.
Well, I mean, if you were going to sit there and say this is a piece of art and this is a piece of writing, people would probably assume that the art is an image or a sculpture, whereas writing is text. And yeah, writing is a type of art, blah, blah, blah. But all I was saying was that visual art versus text. That's all I'm saying.
What I'm saying, though, is that when you write, or when you start off with any type of art, you start off with something loose. You start off with a lump of clay. You start off with a loose, scratchy sketch. You start off with a bunch of words that are formulating an idea, right?
Yeah.
And what's really art is the process of refining that. How realistic that art is how well you can refine it. That's kind of what I was saying. Like, I don't make that distinction. I don't think that's a real distinction.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think people make that distinction, but I don't think it's a true distinction. If that makes sense to you.
Yeah, I was just... The distinction I was making was simply that I was really just listing off genres or subsets, not yeah.
Well,
that's all I was doing.
Skill in art, like difference between being a writer and an artist or whatever. I just wanted to put my 2 cents in on the fact that it's how well you refine something, whether you're writing, painting, whatever you're doing. It's how well you refine it, how far you take it. You all start loose and end up detailed, right?
Right.
And there's a part of that art deciding what are the important details, right?
Right.
Because we can over detail something and kind of ruin the art.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be painting, whether it be a story. You don't want to read a story that tells you every little thing about everything. You want some imagination to go on there. You want some connection, right?
Right.
And it's the same thing with good art. You don't see everything represented in it. There's some things that are out of focus, because if everything's in focus, that's not real. You don't go out in real life and see everything being in focus. The selection. I think when I finish this this layer on the water, I think we're going to be done for the night.
Duswell said, "Oh wow, it reminds me of the analogy that St. Thomas Aquinas made, where art can be a perfected medium."
Okay.
I'm down with that.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what I was saying. It's any medium done as well as you can do. And that's like everything, like dance, photography. What can't be considered an art in that way? I'm glad somebody pulled out a Thomas Aquinas quote too. Look at that.
Yeah. Bonus points to Team Dustball.
Yeah, right. That's not as common.
Oh my God. Facebook is listening to me. Okay. Like legit. Like it just came up with this. Since hot dogs are basically just pureed meat stuffed inside an animal intestine, a hot dog doesn't stop being a hot dog even after we eat it. We just become the new hot dog casings, and that makes us, in a way, hot dogs as well. St. Thomas Aquinas, which I know he didn't actually say that, but I'm like, really? And there was another thing that popped up earlier where I thought, dear God, you must be listening to me. Now I can't find it again, but I don't remember what it was, but it was. I was like, dang, Facebook, way to spy. So, oh well.
That's funny. Wait till it starts surprising us with like Robert Louis Stevenson or something like that. That's one quote I learned early on about writing that stuck with me. That the difficulty is not writing, but writing to effect. And not just writing to effect, but writing to affect the reader precisely how you want.
Yeah.
That's great theory for the time period.
What the?
See, I can't say that without having that. That's my next step. It's my next natural step. What the?
Oh. My computer was starting to freeze up on me. I mean, it may have something to do with the fact that I have 4 windows open, each with a minimum of 5 tabs, and several of them with more than that, but still, it shouldn't freeze. Like it was freezing I have a Word document I've been working on. Not a Word document, a Google Doc. But, yeah, there was a short story somebody sent me to critique, and I was reading over it, and it had these really tiny paragraphs that should have all been kind of like one larger paragraph, and I'm not going to call anybody out, but it really seemed like I was like, I bet this is AI written, because that's one of the things AI kind of has a problem with sometimes. Like it might have just been that guy's writing style. I don't know, but I mean, it's just his paragraphs were like 2 sentences long, and that's it. AI tends to have small paragraphs, so it was my suspicion, and I thought, well, let's say it is AI written. It would behoove that guy to go through and think of that as a first draft and then rewrite the whole thing like Orson Scott says. So it's actually his voice telling that story, not the AI. I mean, everything that's coming. It's all plotted out. Now make it yours. You know what I mean? I don't know why you do that if you're a writer. Like what? I don't get my kicks off of having AI make something for me. Like I want to be the creator. But whatever. Like you said the other night, AI can be used for writing prompts. I think that's true. I think AI can be used to kind of help break a log jam of writer's block. So I think it's a tool that can be used. But if that's all you're doing is using a tool, then you're not using the right tool, and you're not doing the right, and you're not making art.
Right. That's like saying that art has to have a reason. You have to have you have to have a purpose for writing something or for painting something or whatever. No, that's not true. You can express a feeling without expressing a reason.
Yeah.
Or it can just be cathartic.
Yeah, but I don't know how AR art's going to be cathartic.
Well, I'm not talking about AR art because we already discussed it and determined that AI art's not art, right?
Right.
So I'm just saying that.
Okay, that might be. I just had a fun idea. So, I don't know how you do this. So just keep in mind this is a off the cuff idea, not fleshed out yet. But what if you you kind of had a drawing face-off between you have the artist and you have AI, and the moderator would give both of you give the AI and the human artist
same prompt.
Yeah, the same prompt, and then you'd compare who did it better.
So it's like John Henry.
Well, I'm saying, like, if I told you, all right, I want a elderly man in robes that have moose antlers for a collar. I mean, my son, who can't draw to save his life, would do better than what Midjourney did, because Midjourney just could not do that, right? Yeah, they gave me some neat pictures of guys with antlers, but it was never a guy in robes with antlers for the collar. Never. And you could argue then that the human understands what's going on and actually could do it. Even if it's a crappy drawing, you'd do it. You'd be more accurate to the prompt. So that could happen. Like, you could literally just have the AI flame out because it just can't understand what's going on, whereas the human can. Just a fun little exercise, I guess. Might be, then you could give away the picture or whatever, because who cares? But just something to, man versus AI is a topic that people are interested in, so you'd be playing right into it.
The problem, though, with that is that AI has access to all kinds of paintings, and when AI is finished, which is relatively no time at all, right?
Right.
It's completely colored, painted, whatever. It would take
Well,
a hell of a lot longer
which is why I would
to even do a pencil sketch.
Well, I get that the AI would. It's not a race for speed, though. It's simply.
No, but I'm saying, like, yeah, I mean, for it to be a competition, it kind of has to have limitations, right?
I don't know if time has to be one of them.
Forever to paint a painting and compare it to AI that took 10 seconds.
Yeah, but again, okay, so AI has speed and access to everything on the internet. Technically,
Right.
you have access to everything on the internet as well. You don't have speed, but you do have actual intelligence. I know it's probably rare that people tell you, but you are intelligent. So, I'm just making fun of you, Rich.
What people are rare to tell me.
Yeah, I know, but it's okay. I'm just making fun. But I'm saying, I think both of you have different advantages, and both would have certain drawbacks. And yeah, I think you have to take time out of the equation. It's just too unfair. You can't draw as fast as
right. That's
Midjourney can.
what I'm saying is that, but it's not just as fast. Like when it produces a picture, it produces way more than just a quick concept or a concept. Like, so for instance, I can probably in 10 minutes draw a concept that is what you want, or enough of what you want to be like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But it wouldn't have that depth. It wouldn't have the amount of depth that it could produce. So it's like, for me to produce that, it would take so much time that it is a negative. Hello. We forgot how to pronounce his name, right? Ishawar?
Oh. I was testing something and I couldn't see my screen. Dear Lord. Now I've lost. Oh my God. Jump the present. Anyway, yeah, I think depending on the prompts, I think you're more capable of competing than what you might think.
Well, yeah, it depends on the result, though. The result that you're looking for. Because
I agree.
To get a finished result, you know, some artists are quick. Don't get me wrong. I know that there are a lot of artists, a lot of painters that they don't do what I'm doing. They're not laying it out, drawing, laying it out under drawing. They're not laying it out like that. They just pick up the brush and work.
Right.
They draw with the brush and they paint. And someone like that could maybe in 2-3 hours or something like that produce a pretty good image of what you're trying to do. Like I said, to what you're talking about, I could probably draw 5 or 10 minutes or something like that. It's not but it wouldn't be a full realistic drawing, but it'd be enough of a concept drawing, a conceptual piece to go, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I want him to look like that. Like, for instance, I did a challenge this week. The challenge this week on a David Finch fan server is to take Batman and put him in a Spider-Man pose.
Okay.
Because in a brief conversation about poses for Batman, and pretty much every pose that you can think of for Batman has already been drawn. The ones that you don't see, or that the ones that would be original, would be poses that are more associated with somebody else. And I chose Spider-Man as an example because Spider-Man's poses are the same as Batman's but different. There's expected poses. What I'm saying is, with Batman, you always see this stoic stance, and he's gazing out over Gotham, and it's always sitting and standing. That I'm not talking about fighting. I'm talking about poses that you see Batman in.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And in Spider-Man, you can see him hanging upside down, sticking to a wall, swinging with his legs over his shoulders. There's all kinds of different poses for him. And Batman could legitimately be in some of those poses if he's climbing up on a building. So, but to put it in perspective of what you're talking, I could do maybe a 10-15 minute sketch of Batman hanging upside down under a gargoyle with his cloak around him, so that he looks like a bat with his wings folded around him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could do a quick sketch like that, and you look at it and you know what I'm trying to do. But sure, I don't really know how AI doesn't know what a collar is.
Well, it knows what. Again, it's because it can't find an image of a moose antler collar.
Right, but so what I'm saying is that it doesn't have the ability to imagine, is what you're saying. What I'm saying is, it can produce what a moose antler looks for. I'm wondering if you phrased it a little bit different, or a more exact phrase.
Ishalat said, I love the weekly challenge prompt, really interesting. And Dustball said, I would usually draw for 2 hours at most. I don't know why. When I draw quick, my thought process also becomes faster in a way, which is cool. I'm saying I tried for way longer than I should have to phrase something that Midjourney would figure out and do right. Like every concept I could think of, never could do it. And I just tried something new.
Drier now, so you can see.
That's cool.
Like,
I tried.
The axe is right across through here.
Yeah.
You won't see that till I peel that up, but that's the cloud idea, the cloud formations. I have to let it dry so that I can come in front, because there's some drifting in front. But I'm layering it forward. I'm walking forward, so but I did come in and lighten up some of this stuff in back, because that dark blue was actually clouds that are behind that. And you can tell that now, is what I'm saying. So
yeah.
Just wanted to come in for a minute to focus on that, because when the camera's up all the way, you don't really see much of it at all, because you're seeing a lot down here. So yeah, anyway.
I just tried a simple prompt on Midjourney. I asked it for a goblin flying a biplane.
A what?
A goblin flying a biplane. 2 wings.
Yeah, I know what a biplane is. I just didn't hear what you said.
Okay. Not a single one of the images it gave has a biplane.
Just say Red Baron's plane. just to see if it shows you the Red Baron's plane when you say that.
All right, let me try that.
I mean, with the Goblin, because you're
Right.
missing. I'm just saying, like, your phrasing might be. I'm not saying your phrasing is off. I'm saying that there might be a better way to phrase it to get what you want.
Okay, but what I'm saying for the exercise, you give a prompt. Like if I had said, draw a goblin flying a biplane, even in 10 minutes you would have done better than Midjourney did. I'm just saying you would have, because you would have. Yes, the artwork of the Midjourney one would have been more complete.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like it would have advantages over mine, but definitely with disadvantages too.
Midjourney also gets 4 shots. You get 1. Like there are certain things you just kind of have to. I mean, it's a concept that would be, I think, an interesting view. All right, so it's got 4 pictures this time. All of them are red. One of them, I can't tell if it's got a goblin at all, but it's definitely not an actual. None of them are the Red Baron's plane. Yeah, they're red. 2 of them are biplanes. 2 of them aren't. And yeah, like I said, one of them I'm not even sure if it has a goblin in it. So, in fact, 2 of them I'm not sure if it has goblins in it. Yeah,
Second,
very detailed.
well, you can talk, but I'm gonna move this painting for a second, just for shit and giggles. That's a saying I don't really know where it comes from. People often shit and giggle.
If you're doing it right, no.
What's that?
I said if you're doing it right, which is not true, but
I've never fucking done it right.
yeah.
I've had a few times.
Whoa! It's just a little wrong.
I've had a few times that I've shit and cried.
Yeah?
I can't say as I've ever been like, hee hee hee. Maybe when I was like 2 or 3 or something like that. But anyway, let's just see. Yo, that was. Oh, you know what? This is a good chance to use my big 5mm pencil. Right? So what I'm going to do is just a quick sketch based on your criteria. I love this thing. This is huge on side. And this big. All right, so give me the criteria again.
For what? The first idea that I had?
The one that you're saying that it can't give you.
Oh, okay. So I said I wanted a older gentleman in robes that have a collar made out of moose antlers. I think I might have said actually a druid that has a robe with moose antlers for a collar.
Yeah, so I think an older gentleman would look a little bit different than a druid, but I'll give you.
Well, I don't know how to search this very well. Ooh. I may have just figured it out. or I have not. Well, here, how should we do it? Watch, this time when I redo it, it'll be fine.
I'm not using a reference, so I'm just...
Yeah, I know.
Just producing a reasonable facsimile.
Yeah, so it's 15% done, and it is once again screwing it up. Oh. Ishalot wants you to zoom in if you can.
I really can't much. I can bend the camera down, son. Can you see better?
Well, it's bigger.
Well, right now it's just kind of loose. I actually took my glasses off too, so.
He's flying blind.
Maybe I need to put my glasses on.
God, that's a thick pencil lead.
I love it. I just wish it was longer.
That's what she said.
Really? Because, I always thought thicker was better. Wider was better.
Yeah, but why not have both?
Well, there's only so much room.
That's what I've always thought, but it's amazing how it never seems to,
There's a joke. There's a joke about that. I'll tell you sometime when we're off camera. So,
I have the prompt and Midjourney's attempts up on my screen. So
Yeah, hold on, because like
I know. I'm just letting you know.
I'm just saying I'm pretty much conceptually wise, I'm almost done. Like from what you gave me, it was
Right. I was saying that so that for whenever you're ready, you can share or let me share that thing, the other screen.
all right.
The funny thing now, this will be online, and Midjourney will be able to do it later.
What? Oh,
Well,
this?
Yeah, since this is online, it may eventually be able to do it.
Well, not if they win that court case.
Yeah. I kind of question if that court case is the right court case, in that.
Well, I don't know the wording to that court case, so I can't really make that argument. I know why they're doing it, and
Right, but I would think that you would sue someone who has used an image from like if I took one for a book cover, if you could show where like your art was stolen, that's the person who used it as the book cover.
It wasn't supposed to be put into a generator without permission. You are using their art without permission. That's a copyright violation, and I can see that.
Well, I could kind of see it. I could also kind of see it not. Like I can see it both ways. Because
it's either so somebody can steal your prose because they're going to put it in, they're going to put it into a generator where they can just steal chunks of your prose. That's okay.
No, and again,
it's exactly the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. They're stealing chunks of somebody else's hard-earned work.
I think it's a little more nuanced than that.
I don't. I think that's an excuse for people that can't or don't want to. But like I said, I don't think they're going to be able to stop it because it's already started, But it can be used. It can be used to affect. They can use it, But it's hard because they're the ones that are really fighting this case. Are fighting this case because they're fighting for writing, but they're also fighting for any kind of art. And I think that there's a degree that you have to say, yeah, I mean, they're right what they're doing. They're just in what their argument is. Like you. So when you're saying you have, sue the person that uses the art or whatever, well, the person that put that into an AI, that's the one that used the art. So the company that created the AI, technically, and that's the same thing. It just takes a loop, but it still comes back to the same exact person.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but I would also say I could see it being argued that you are. Okay? So,
I can't see a valid argument that I'm wrong,
okay, well,
but you might be able to come up with a valid argument that it's justified, but it's not wrong. I can get sued for using anything more than 10% of somebody else's work.
right. And I don't know how much.
If you put it in the generator, if you put the whole thing in the generator, they may be taking 10% of that work, but you put the whole thing in.
See, and that's where I kind of think your argument that they're putting it into a generator. If it was already online,
but it's
already publicly accessible
images without permission.
But again, I don't. It depends on how much is being used. If I say draw, I don't know, Jim Lee's cover of whatever, and it spits it out, yeah, I'd say you probably broke copyright. But if if it gives me something that's Jim Lee never drew.
Yeah, but you're not saying that you can't sue an AI. You're suing the company that's using the work without permission, not what their work is, but it's what work is being taken without their permission. That's not the same thing at all. I'm not suing the AI. You can't sue a machine. You have to sue the person that created the machine and put that stuff into the machine. They used copyrighted art without permission.
There are legal avenues to do that. Like if I want to make a collage,
there are legal avenues, but you have to have permission.
I don't think that's accurate at all. If I want to make a collage,
quote a song in a book, quote two stanzas of a song in a book, and let it be known that you did. Watch how fast you're sued.
Well, you can be sued for anything.
Martin was talking about that very subject. You can be sued and you'll lose because you have to have permission from the copyright holder.
But when it comes to images, I don't think it's as strict, because how do you can see the text and its full construction, whereas if I'm making a collage, there are rules that allow you to, as long as you alter the image enough, you're allowed to use it. It's fair use. So
unless they win this lawsuit, dude, the fair use is I can take 10% of what you've written. I can take 10% of anything. You can still get sued for it and still lose it.
Well, again, you can get sued for anything,
and still lose. And that sets a precedent. And that's what they're trying to do, is set a precedent. Well, you have a copyright. If you own a copyright and you pay for a copyright and you get a copyright and somebody uses your stuff without permission, that's violating that copyright. Period.
And I'm saying I don't, because again, the images are altered, and I'm not sure that they're selling the art anyway.
They couldn't sell it without the art.
You're right, but I don't necessarily. But again, I don't like it. I would rather they pay for the use. Like, I have no problem
that's going to be the case. I'm just saying that's going to be the case. What we're talking about right now is what's going to be the argument in court, I'm sure.
Well, I don't know. I'm just, and all I was saying is I could see an argument.
Can they have?
I could see an argument that can be made. So, once I can see an argument can be made, I also know people can believe that argument.
Right.
So, and I don't agree. I don't like the outcome if they lose. If the people suing lose. I would much rather have them, say, no, you got to pay. Kind of like royalties with like music on streaming, that kind of thing.
Well, it's the same thing with, like I'm using royalty-free music, but I have permission to.
Right.
because they have a certain set deal. If you use this, you have to have a link in the description box, and that's what I have, a link to that in the description box, right?
Right. And again, I think that's the right way of going about like that kind of thing. Is I think that should be what happens.
Okay.
But I'm also saying that I think it's just because I think it's the way it should happen. I also recognize that it might not go that way.
Okay, that's that. I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying I don't think it's wrong whether they win or lose the case. I don't think it's wrong.
Okay.
That's a matter of you have the right to your own opinion, and nobody can say it's an invalid opinion, even though they can say it's not factually true. You see what I mean?
Right. Anyway, I was just saying from the beginning, it's just an argument I could see. I think it's just more. You have a very cut and dried view of it, and I think it's more nuanced. Rob said,
"Hold on. What am I drawing with? Is it more?
Yeah, I was going to read that for you.
Is it more convenient than dealing with typical drawing? This is a pencil. It's just a wide pencil. So like this is the lead holder that you see like Dave Finch drawing with, and pretty much most of the comic artists. This is the same thing. It's just a bigger lead. This is a HB lead. This is a 2B lead, so it's a softer lead that gets darker quicker. It's a shorter pencil, but it's a wider pencil. I can also hold charcoals in this. It's just a lead holder, but it's just a thicker lead. Sorry, bro. I just happened to see that while you were talking, so I was.
No, I was trying to actually get to that so I could read that while you were drawing. Well, kind of trying to do my job. Weird.
I looked over and I looked over just at the right time, I guess.
Ishalot said, "Nice clothing design. I'm going to learn drawing cloth folds next."
Yeah, well, this is like very, very rough. I usually use a reference no matter what I'm doing.
Yeah, if you weren't here earlier, I proposed a little thought experiment where I put in, I told Rich the prompt, and I told Midjourney the prompt, and we're going to see who fulfills the prompt better. And I already know who has fulfilled it better, but because it's the prompt that I said earlier, Midjourney.
Like I said, it's all a sketch. I mean, it's not supposed to be a finished drawing.
Right.
It's only a couple of minutes, right? Well,
right.
I think it was more like 15 minutes? 20 minutes.
Know, so.
20 minutes, but whatever. Pretty close.
So,
a full character.
Let me see if I can present.
You can present, and I will have to accept it.
Right.
Yep, that's what I'm saying. So, present. Yeah, this is a sharpener. Actually, this has a sharpener in the back. This is a sharpener. Like, moisten my fingers so I can get a grip on it.
I have too many screens open. And I'm trying to figure out which one is which.
So, pull this off. That right there is a sharpener.
Nope, not the right one. This may take I may not be technically proficient to do this.
See in there?
Oh, that's a little too close.
Yeah, right there. So it's a sharpener. So 2 little points right there. One on that. Yeah. Inside. See, there's 2. I'm not used to working with a camera like that.
There we go.
Yeah, it has a sharpener.
All right, whenever you're ready.
I'm not really too worried about the sharpener in all fairness because I'm using this as a rough pencil. This isn't like this isn't a finished drawing whatsoever. If I was going to do a finished drawing, I would go over that pencil with this pencil, which is a much smaller lead. But if I wanted to darken the lines and solidify the lines, that's what I would be doing. Different pencils for different things. Roughs, fine. Alright, so let's see. Here is the Midjourney, right?
Yep. That's it.
That's not very large. I can't see it very well.
Well, that's about as good as I can get.
Well, those are elk antlers.
Yeah, they're the long antlers. They're all coming out of the guy's forehead, and none of them are on the collar. Like, yeah, it looks more realistic and finished and blah, 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 but in the end, it can't create. You create it. So, just what I was, it's a fun little thought experiment.
Yeah, it was interesting. That's definitely so.
Yeah.
Mine's not, mine's not refined, but it's a few minutes and.
Yeah, but I can see the moose antlers on the guy's robes.
Well, hopefully you can see that he's an elf too.
Well, with pointed ears, yeah.
So I've tried to give him a little age to his face, wrinkles in his forehead, but that's the size of his face. So
right, and both look cool. I don't know what NGL means. I'm old.
What's that?
Dustball said both look cool, NGL, and I don't know what NGL is. I'm old. Not gonna lie.
Not gonna lie, yeah.
Sweet.
You should know the lingo better. You're a teacher.
That doesn't mean I know what they're. I don't text. I don't text my students. You get fired for that kind of thing.
But they do.
Yes, but that's true. I do read stuff they send me. I was like, oh goodness.
Right.
Anyway.
But yeah, like the other ones look cool, but they're not what he wanted. He didn't want something that had horns. He didn't want a person or a being that had horns.
Right.
He wanted a robe that had horns.
Yeah.
Like he's wearing the horns of power. Something like that.
And kind of the way I think about this though is like I don't know, like the responsible you, like I get the lawsuit against Midjourney or whatever company that does it.
I don't know if it's a loss to. Well, maybe. I don't know the details.
Well, I'm just saying. I
think mainly what it's trying to do is set a precedent. Just like they set a precedent that you can't copyright AI. So you can make a cover with AI. You can create your cover from AI. But anyone else in the world can use it too, and it's not copyrighted. It can't be copyrighted. That's what the law passed. But what I'm saying is, since they got that ruling, that set a precedent. So now they can explore it from that precedent.
Okay, and I'm
saying
saying that
that's what they're trying to do here too. They're not trying to necessarily get money from Midjourney or whatever, even though Midjourney should pay a percentage, maybe 10 cents every time part of your image is generated, or 0.10 cents every time your image is generated, right?
Right. I mean,
just only if your image is generated, and that's a fair deal, right?
Right.
So I mean, I think that would be an acceptable win.
But I'm saying though, from So that's the Mid-Journey side. But I think if you're going to use Mid-Journey, like I think there are ethical ways of using Mid-Journey, but you can't use the art. Like, I don't think using it for a book cover is ethical because you should be paying the original artist. And I think this little section kind of proves that if they can't see it already being done, they can't do it. Whereas you can. So it's not using their own art. They're just basically making a collage. But I think you can use it for inspiration pieces for various things. I think that seems like an ethical use. You know, if you're trying to get something closer, and I know people aren't using it that way.
Idea.
Yeah.
Like, you might produce that and go, you know, that's not what I was thinking, but that's pretty cool, and I can use that too, or something. You know.
Or I can riff on it, you know, whatever. But yeah, but I would never sell that picture. But okay, so like I'm looking at these pictures, and one looks like it kind of has a goat face, and the other one looks like it. Well, I don't know what that is. But the goat face one, I'm like, oh, that's kind of a neat look. Like I might have a goat face character later on. I don't know. Like
Is that the lawgiver, right?
No.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. From Island Dr. Moreau.
Yeah. You know, I have a personal connection.
Nice. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out the ethical use because I think people are going to use it. And yeah, they're going to, even if you know the ethical uses for it, you're going to have people that abuse those ethics.
You can't legislate good behavior. You cannot legislate good behavior.
I know.
It doesn't make people behave.
But I want to make.
You think they can, but they can't. They can't legislate good behavior.
But I want to figure out, for me, how to, what's the ethical use, and
how far you can go.
I don't know if it's how far I can go. Like I'm not looking for a limit. I'm looking for what seems fair.
Aren't you looking for a limit?
Not really. Because again, I already have my limits.
Ethical use, and you're looking for the limits of the ethics right there.
Well, I suppose, but in the end, I already had limits that I already knew.
You had limits that were self-imposed, right?
Well, yeah, but again, I want to do what I think is ethical, so I already had it figured out. This would not be ethical. Because when I first saw Mid-Journey, what it could do, my first thought was like, oh my gosh, yeah, you can use this for all kinds of, and then I was talking to you about it, and you explained how it's stealing, and you picked apart a picture I sent you, and you're like, yeah, it's this guy and this guy, and and I Googled those guys, and I was like, oh my God, it is. And so then I was like, all those ideas of what I could use it for went out the window. I said, nope, that's stealing. It's absolutely stealing. And for me, ethically, I can't do it.
I think that's good, but I think that's a self-imposed thing. And when you look for the limits of it, that's what you're saying. You're looking for the limits of what's ethical, like what you can feel justified with using. And so I will use, and every artist I know of, every single artist I know of, will use other artists for reference. They will use, even Frazetta did swipes. Now, he didn't swipe entire paintings, but he swiped poses, or he swiped, particular parts that he needed help with, or that he wanted to do, and he was in a rush, and whatever the excuse, it's still the same thing, right? It wasn't his original idea. He took an idea that he'd seen and he liked, and he used it his way. Well, as long as you're using it your way and not actually copying it dead out, that's how we learn. That's how we become artists, right?
Well,
Like, it's the same thing with writing. They, you're
Yeah.
you're writing. You're gonna create your own voice with writing, but you develop it based on the stuff that you like to read.
when you say I'm looking for how far I can go, though, it
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying like you're trying to be sneaky about that. I'm saying you're
Right,
looking
but
to see how
I get
far
that.
you can accept, how far you can
I
go.
just it almost sounds like I'm trying to figure out what I can get away with, and
But you kind of are. I mean,
yeah, but it's-
I'm not saying it as an accusatory statement. It's a factual statement. It's like
Well-
saying all fiction writers are liars. All of them. We're not telling the truth. We're showing the truth through a lie, but we're still lying.
yeah, but there's a connotation. I mean, and it's not necessarily yours. I mean, trying to figure out what the ethics are is trying to figure out
You wouldn't
where I
believe
need
how
to put
many writers.
boundaries.
You wouldn't
And
believe how many writers that I've seen get offended because I said what I just said.
well, I'm just
They're like, we're not liars, really. You're telling the truth then.
no, I get it. I'm not. I'm saying trying to figure out where the ethics are, or where the ethical boundaries are, versus what I can get away with.
But
Um,
yeah, that's the ethical boundaries, what you can get away with. Whether or not you're answering it for yourself to yourself.
Well, I think what you can get away with implies that there's an outside entity checking up on you, whereas trying to figure out what the
I
ethics
don't
are.
necessarily agree with that. I mean, there's everybody
Okay, then who are
defines
you getting away with it from?
well what you feel like you can get away with doing without being stealing.
Well,
That's not the same thing as getting away with it because you're going to get caught. I'm saying get away with it because you feel like it's acceptable. That's I didn't accuse you. That's why I said I'm not being accusatory.
I get that. I'm saying that
But
I
that's
think
the way that you're taking it. You're saying like
no,
you don't
I'm
have
not.
to defend
I'm not
yourself
taking it
against
that
me.
way.
I'm not looking at your stuff and going, "Oh, you're stealing this and you're stealing that." I'm just saying that when I say you're looking for your limits, I'm saying you are looking for your limits.
Yeah.
Limits, not the limits of the ethics of it all, because the ethics are what you think the ethics are, right?
Okay.
Like when we're talking about ethics, one person's ethics is sometimes vastly different than another.
Oh, I
They're-
know. I understand that.
Even
That's-
like the Teutonic Knights. The Teutonic Knights would kill a woman or a child. They didn't have any ethics about killing who they're killing, even though they're Christian knights. They could consider you guilty by association and kill you. But that's their ethics. That's their ethical standards, what they believe in their ethics. So when I'm saying what you can get away with, I'm talking about it to yourself. You know that you punish yourself more than anybody else for your mistakes, right?
Yep.
Unless you're legally bound to something. But you look back at the stuff that you screwed up on, and that you know what your limit is because you're not going to do that next time because you found your limit, right?
I suppose.
That is the reference that I'm making when I'm saying you're looking to find your limits, the limits of the ethics. Like what you can get away with is what you can get away with to yourself. Not what you can get away with to me or what you can get away with to the next guy. It's what you can hold your head up and say, yeah, this is still mine.
Right. Do you think it's possible to create a completely original idea or drawing, especially
No.
since everything is an amalgamation of a previous idea or artwork?
No.
Yeah. I don't
No.
think either one of us would say that you can It's completely original.
There's no such thing as an original thought.
Well,
It's the way you express it that's original or not.
there could be an original thought.
It's a kind of 2-point thing. I don't believe so. Nothing is new under the sun.
Well,
That's not my quote.
I know that, but I'm saying that that's
That's a quote.
there was a guy
that I'm gonna back every time.
Well, there was a guy, I think in the early 1900s, I forget who it was, I could look it up, but he basically said that everything, basically we already know everything. There was nothing new to discover, which was
that's not the same as original thought, though.
Well, I get that, but what I'm saying is that, there was an original thought at some point in time, and I can't exclude original point going forward. But the likelihood of having an original thought is rare. And it gets more rare the longer time goes on, because it's harder to do. But I think that there absolutely is the possibility of doing it, but
I don't. I think it's a combination of something that you've seen or that somebody thought of before. You may discover a way to do something that somebody thought of and couldn't do, but I don't think it's an original thought.
Well, see, that's also a question then of completion, really, because
well, I'm saying I don't think it's original thought. You might have an original way, which is what I said before.
Well,
you're not original
but
thought.
if you have an original way, yeah, but if you had an original way, that original way is an original thought. Like a thought had to make that.
No, that's I don't agree with that.
How would you have an original way if you don't have an original thought to make it?
Okay, so you think it's an original thing to go to the moon?
No, not anymore.
There can be an original way to go to the moon.
Oh yeah, there can be an
original thought since the very first science fiction epic that was written near the time of the Bible was talking about people on the moon, people on other planets.
How do you get an original way without thinking about it first?
I think that you're thinking of something else.
And what you mistakenly
No.
do something.
You can think it's an original thought, but I'm saying that it's already been thought of by somebody else. And if you're trying something and you make it work and somebody else didn't make it work, that doesn't mean that it's an original idea. It means it's an original way to accomplish that idea.
So you are saying there is a limit to the number of ideas.
Yeah.
And I am saying, no, there is not a limit.
Prove it.
You prove it. You tell me what the number
of
ideas.
I can't prove a negative. That's bullshit. You can't ask me to prove a negative. Prove the positive.
You're trying to make me prove a negative. I'm saying there is no limit, and you're saying prove it.
I'm saying it's not possible. You're saying.
In fact, you're asserting a positive because you have said there is a number.
A negative.
You are proving a positive. In what way is saying there is something does exist? All right, prove it. That is a positive. Saying that something does not exist.
Show me an original thought that's happened in your lifetime. An original thought. Not something.
Again, I don't know all thoughts. Neither do you. But you're saying that you think there is a limit to the number of original thoughts.
I didn't say all thoughts. See, now you're trying to change.
No, I didn't say all thoughts. I said original thoughts. You're saying there is a limit to original thoughts.
I don't know all thoughts. I didn't ask you all thoughts. I asked you to show me.
Yes, but you're trying to say I have to tell you what an original thought was.
One.
And again, that's one out of how many?
What? I don't see an original thought yet.
And I never said you did. In fact, I never said you would. I said that for you to say that you did not have one means that we have thought of everything already. All thoughts have already been thought, and we're just regurgitating. That's just not true.
No, well, we're talking about original ideas.
Original ideas. You're saying there is a limit for original ideas, which boggles my mind, because that would have to mean that we really know everything, because that's the only way to say that we've reached the limit of new original ideas.
Thought of everything. We may not know it. We may not know the answers to everything, but we've thought about it.
Right. And what I'm saying to you is exactly what Socrates said before. We don't know anything. All right. We only what we think we know, constantly changes, and it changes when we have new information. And if that information is something that no one's seen,
I don't think
they're going to have an original thought.
An original thought. I don't think there's an original thought. Brett does. So
okay, well, then I'm saying that you're telling me that there's a limit of original thoughts.
I think you can take a thought. I think you can take an existing thought and embellish it and create from it and expand on it and extrapolate and create something, not even create something, make something work that nobody else has been able to make work. But I don't think you're going to think of something that somebody else hasn't thought of.
And I'm saying that means there has to be a limit on original thoughts or original ideas, and I don't think there is a limit.
I didn't say
because I'm saying that as time goes on, if there is a limit, you're getting closer to it, but I don't think it's passed, and I don't think there is a limit at all anyway.
And like I said, you can't show me an example of one, and even one example of something that hasn't been thought of before that's been done right now in your lifetime, something new.
No.
Well, then your argument has no point. I can show you that nothing that's supposed to be new is new.
No, again,
only something that you have to,
So I'm saying that you are saying that there is a limit. So what's the limit? How do you know the limit?
No, I didn't say a limit. You said a limit.
You're right. I said a limit because you said we've reached it.
No, I didn't say
really. So if we haven't reached the limit,
go back and tell me where I said we fucking reached it, because now you're putting words in my mouth. I said there's no original thought. We do not agree on that.
Yeah, you said that we cannot have an original thought. So either original thought never existed, or original idea never existed, or we've reached the limit and we've had all the original thoughts. We've run out of them.
I just said there's not going to be a new one. There's not going to be one that.
You said it was impossible to come up with one.
I said there's no new ones.
Oh my God. You are impossible. You are a complete contrarian. You said that it is impossible, and I said it was possible but not likely.
Watch this all by yourself again.
Dude,
because I said there's no new ideas, and you're trying to turn it around to say that I'm saying a positive.
I'm reading
But I didn't.
Again, saying there are no new ideas means there's a limit that has been reached.
That's your saying. You said there's a limit.
Then how do you say that there are no more left without saying there was a limit? Explain that. Go ahead. Tell me how we've reached the limit, but there is no limit.
How many did we start off with?
I don't know.
Well, then
I don't think we know the number.
You're
but
putting
again,
numbers into something that has nothing to do with numbers.
And
Show me an original thought. Show me an original thought.
And so we've never had an original thought?
Show me an original thought. I'm saying, in your lifetime, show me.
I didn't say that.
Original thought.
I never said it was going to be in my lifetime. In fact, I completely said, you can watch this later on, I said you may never see an original thought in your entire lifetime. That doesn't mean it's not possible to make it. The question was, do you think it's possible to create a completely original idea or drawing? And you said no, and I said, I think it is possible, but highly unlikely.
Okay, so even in the context he's talking about, show me an original drawing. Show me a drawing that doesn't have something that's posed, something that's understandable that doesn't exist. I don't think there's original thought left. I don't.
So you've said we've reached the limit.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I don't think that you're going to come up with a thought that somebody else hasn't come up with. I don't believe it.
And I said
you would have to prove it to me for me to believe it. And that's what I'm saying. So you can
I
argue it.
agree.
You can argue it whatever you want to. If you say I'm not going to see an original thought in my lifetime, that is the equivalent of saying there's no original thoughts right now.
No, it's not.
Really?
It's saying, yes.
If I don't see one in my lifetime, there is one. Where? How does that
Well,
work?
first off, you're one human being with a very limited scope on this planet. So the idea that only what
And if
you
you think
experience
that you're gonna
exists
come up with one
is a little
human
ridiculous.
being- If you think you're going to come up with one original thought out of all the human beings that have ever been alive on this planet and died, I think you're full of shit.
But there are so many more people that will
combine
exist.
other people's
You're
thoughts.
saying that a very small
You're
number
not
of
gonna
human
come up with
beings that
something that hasn't
exist
been thought
had an
of.
original thought, and that the billions and trillions of human beings that will exist, which far outdwarf how many have existed,
Okay, I'm perfectly
they will not have.
proven wrong.
Numerically, it makes way more sense that an original idea is still out there.
Okay, so numerically, whatever. Let's show
Yeah,
me proof.
numerically, the fact that the odds are there is an original, there is probably going to be a new original thought. The fact that you think it's already been passed because you haven't had one, like that's just being an egotist. Like I can admit, I haven't had an original thought, not a completely original
You're
thought. I mean, I've
arguing
seen,
that you're hopeful that you're going to have an original thought.
I didn't even say that. Don't worry about it. But you've said it's
You
already been
can't
reached.
show me an example. You can't show me one example in your life.
Everything that's ever been thought of started off as an original thought. So how can I not show an example?
Everybody on this earth, you can't
Yeah.
show me an example of one
Because
original.
I'm a limited human being with only a limited amount of knowledge, but I can sit there and say,
Right. So in my
you're
opinion,
saying that there has never,
with
because
my
I
limited
can't show
amount
you
of
one,
knowledge,
but
who
there
is
haven't been
gonna
other lives that had them?
I'm going to say no, because that's my limited scope, but that's
Yeah,
not-
it's incredibly
Yeah.
limited, Rich.
I can
It's
only-
incredibly
I can only
short-sighted.
give you an honest
Limited
answer.
is exactly
I can't
right.
make shit up. I can't make shit up. I can only give you what I know.
Yep, and I'm telling you right now, it's an incredibly limited, short-sighted view, and if you're okay with that, that's fine by me. But don't sit there and tell me I tried to tell you things that aren't true.
You just did.
Yeah, okay.
If you tell me that I'm saying something that I'm not saying, that's not true, dude.
You mean when you
I'm
said there
saying
was a
one
limit,
thing.
and then you said there wasn't a limit?
I didn't say a limit. You said limit. I didn't.
Yes, you said that.
That's your
Again,
intellectual word.
if are you saying that
Okay.
original ideas never
You're
existed?
putting words into my mouth.
Are you saying, again, if I ask you a question, it's really hard to put words in your mouth.
You to win.
Hey, I got it. You're putting words in my mouth. I'm just going to scream over on top of you so you never have to address the issue. Either there were original ideas at some point in time or there weren't. Okay? So if there were original ideas, but we cannot do it anymore, there was a limited number of original ideas. If that's not true, explain how else it works.
Show me the original idea. He asked me if it was possible to create a
Yep.
completely original idea or drawing. I
Yep.
said, he was asking me, and I said no. You said yes. No amount of what you're saying right now is going to change that fact.
Yep, and I'm telling you that means you put a limit on the number of original ideas that there are.
You're telling me.
How else? I'm asking you to explain yourself, and all you do is say you're putting words in my mouth.
Over and over. It's the same thing as you're saying. I'm saying that they've been done. It's been done. Unless you can show me something that hasn't been done, I'm not gonna say something's gonna come up or somebody can do it, because one person possibly in the future, that I can't answer what's gonna happen in the future. Right now, I don't
But
think
yet you
there's
are.
any
You're
original
telling me
idea.
that it's not possible. Either way, you're saying what's happening in the future.
I don't think there's any original ideas right now. I don't
That
think
means
you're gonna
there was a
create
limit.
drawing. I don't think you're going to create a drawing that's completely original.
And
I don't
again,
think you're going to have an idea that's completely original.
and again, that means there was a limit, Rich.
So what? I don't think so.
How is there not a limit when you
I
said that we've
don't
reached the
think-
limit?
Dude, I don't think it's going to happen. You're going around in circles, and I don't give a fuck at this point.
That's because you won't answer the question, Rich.
Dude, I answered the question. You don't like the
No, you said that we've all had new ideas, which means there was a limit to them.
I
How
didn't
else
say
could
you
there
were
be?
all out of new
We've
ideas.
run
I
out,
said you had
but
no
there was
idea.
no limit. That's what I'm saying. Answer the question. How do you say we've run out
Who
But
the
there
fuck are
was
you to
no
tell
limit.
me I have to answer a question that you come up with so that you can try to prove me wrong. My opinion is my opinion, whether you like it or not. Your
Yeah,
opinion is your opinion.
It's your
and I
opinion, but
agree
don't
that.
tell me I put words
That's
in
the
your
point.
mouth when
You
all I
did.
did was. Oh my God.
I didn't put those words out there. You did. Goodbye. So there's a nice peaceful ending to this. I do not agree that there's going to be an original thought. I think that everybody's going to, that has what they think is an original thought, is based on something they have learned, seen, or an idea that they're expanding on. That's what I'm saying. There have been way more people that have been on this earth that have had ideas than little old me. And I have never seen somebody come up with an idea that somebody else didn't have first. They just expanded on it and made it better. Not one person. Even the creation of a computer is not new. So anything that's come out from a computer is not new. It's based on somebody else's idea. All right. Well, that's it. That's even more than I planned to do. I needed to have that dry before I can go on to the next stage. Thank you, people, for watching that watch. I hope somebody had some source of amusement from it. I hope somebody learned something from it. Good night. God bless. Love you all.